Yeah, Amanda, Carl, just in the last few minutes as the polls closed right at 7 o'clock, this watch party really has turned on. The drinks are flowing. There's music blasting now. And we're going to give you an idea of just how this room is filling up. You can see News on 6's Jonathan Cooper here next to us. There's a row of reporters. Folks are filling up. We've seen Congressman Tom Cole and Senator Lankford here as well. And but we want to talk about the candidate that we're covering tonight, and that is Governor Kevin Stitt. Earlier this morning, we caught up with Governor Stitt as he was voting here in Northeast Oklahoma City, and he was confident going into tonight and feeling good about his chances. I know that we've been covering polls that have the race tightening up with challenger Joy Hoffmeister, but despite that, this morning, Stitt was showing confidence and confidence in his campaign. And just in the last few minutes, we spoke with Congressman Tom Cole of Oklahoma, who actually said he's very confident as well that Stitt is going to have a victorious night here. So even though there are folks who are still in line at polling places, if they were in the line 2 minutes ago, they're still in line. They will still be allowed to vote. The party here is rising up and starting up, and Republicans are certainly optimistic about how this night could play out. For now, reporting live in Oklahoma City, Barry Mangold, Oklahoma's own News 9.
All right, Barry Mangold for us. And now Brittany Toulis on the other side. She's at Joy Hoffmeister's watch party right now outside or probably inside at this point, the Oklahoma History Center. Brittany?
Yeah, Amanda, as I promised, this time I'm inside the Oklahoma History Center, and right now it's slowly starting to fill up with Joy Hoffmeister supporters, and I have eyes on the door right behind the camera, and she has yet to walk in the building. But having her watch party here at the History Center is pretty fitting since she has a historic endorsement behind her bid for governor. For the first time ever, leaders of Oklahoma's 5 tribes joined forces backing Hoffmeister's bid for governor. Those leaders saying Hoffmeister's commitment to honoring their sovereignty prompted their endorsement. This is also Hoffmeister's first campaign trail as a Democrat, saying the Republican Party no longer fits her ideals. Hoffmeister saying even though she's personally pro-life, decisions about reproductive rights like abortion should be kept between the pregnant person, their doctor, and their faith. Now Hoffmeister splits from the Democrats when it comes to her stance on energy production, the party wanting bold worldwide action to cut carbon emissions, but Hoffmeister saying she stands by the state's oil and gas producers. Now I'll keep you guys posted, and I'll let you know when Joy Hoffmeister does come into her campaign party, but for now, live inside the Oklahoma History Center, Brittany Toulis, Oklahoma's own News 9.
Okay, another race that we're going to get to tonight, State Superintendent. That's the other close one. We're not sure how it's going to go right now.
No
if you look
kidding.
at the polling, it's a dead heat for State Superintendent between the Secretary of Education, Ryan Walters, and Gina Nelson, 2020 Teacher of the Year, the Democrat. And this race has been just tight from the get-go.
This has. So this is one we're watching closely tonight. We have Haley Wager, who is at Ryan Walters' watch party, also at the Embassy Suites. Let's go ahead and check in with Haley. Haley, how's it looking there?
The room is filling up very quickly here at the Republican GOP watch party. Lots of energy in this room and lots of confidence from the candidates in this room as well. Ryan Walters told me earlier today when we spoke about an hour ago, he's expecting a red wave tonight, a full sweep for the Republican Party. Walters and his family just got here. They're out mingling, and let me tell you, their spirits are high. Walters has talked a lot during his campaign about what he and Governor Stitt would do if they're both elected. Today he tells me the very first thing he'll do if he's elected is conduct his own internal audit of the Board of Education. He says he wants to ensure those taxpayer dollars are getting to the teachers and the classroom. He's also talked a lot today about keeping a liberal agenda out of Oklahoma schools. He says he wants to implement a parent choice or voucher program, and he wants to get taxpayer dollars to the classroom, and he wants transparency for parents. And again, a lot of confidence. Will be continuing to follow Walters' campaign. Live in Oklahoma City, Haley Wager, Oklahoma's own News 9.
Our crew's scattered about this evening with all the campaigns. We have Chris Yu with the Gina Nelson campaign at their watch party. He joins us now live. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, Carl, we're at the Embassy Suites Med Center in OKC, where Gina Nelson is having her watch party. Doors opened about half an hour ago. You can see behind me. Her supporters are gathering as we speak. We're told that Nelson is in the building, but she has yet to arrive in the ballroom. We did catch up with her earlier today in Edmond while she was voting. She was in good spirits, telling us that she's very appreciative of her journey to Election Day, being able to talk with her supporters from all over the state. She also told me in previous interviews that some of her most important priorities include retaining teachers by paying them more, by improving school culture, as well as increasing internet access in rural schools, keeping public dollars in public schools, and improving the mental health of students. Now, Nelson is an educator with 17 years of experience. She was Oklahoma State Teacher of the Year, and currently she is an English teacher at Clayton SAS Middle School. Of course, again, we are at her watch party tonight. She has yet to arrive in the ballroom, but more of her supporters are arriving as we speak. And of course, when she does get here, we'll keep you updated on her reactions as this raid continues. But for now, live in OKC, Chris Yu, Oklahoma's own News 9.
Chris, thank you. Okay, we told you the polls closed just about 7 minutes ago. Already votes are coming in, and already some races are being called. Even though the precincts, none of them are reporting yet, so we're not going to actually show you numbers because nothing to show. The Associated Press, they're already calling a couple of races, and a big one.
Well, the Senate races here in Oklahoma, both of them have been called by the Associated Press. We start with Mark Wayne Mullen. He gets the victory tonight, according to the AP right now, his victory over Kendra Horn. We don't have the percentage numbers up just yet on how big a victory this was, but that's a race that was declared first by the AP. And then you had another one right after that was James Langford winning re-election.
He will get re-election as well. And the way they do this oftentimes is just from looking at all their polls, the previous polls. That's how they come up with the winner this early. But in order to get a little bit more of a breakdown on that, why don't we bring in our political analyst, Scott Mitchell. He joins us now. So Scott, first off, explain, how do we have winners this early when we don't have any precincts reporting and no early numbers yet?
Tons of historical data, tons of exit polling. Man, there have been more exit polls done this election than any time I can remember. And so AP uses a lot of that past data, and with the trends they've been looking at for 4 days of early voting, and they can make that call. Now, that's fraught with errors in the past, right? So, and this atmosphere right now, calling elections that early, nothing could go wrong, right?
So you're saying this can't be 2000 in Florida?
All I'm saying is that right now people are suspicious. I mean, I've been getting these texts all day long. This is a new phenomenon. A lot of people don't trust elections. This is very early, and so we'll see. I mean, they're usually pretty good, though.
How difficult is it to get accurate polling right now? Because we've seen kind of polling, I wouldn't say all over the board. I think all the polls I've seen that have been, for the most part, pretty much the same. But I'm wondering, how easy is it to get?
I'll tell you at 11 o'clock tonight.
Well, 400 registered voters, and they are basically, calling this poll for the entire state. I mean, how well does polling work right now in Oklahoma?
It's tough. I mean, you listen to the folks that do polling. We've got some really good polling, okay? Mm-hmm. News 9, News on 6's pollsters, Sooner Poll is one of the highest ranked in the country. You look at the data says they're that good. So, but at the same time, it's hard to reach people. People use these. They don't use landlines anymore. It's very difficult. So they do the best they can in the circumstances, providing people are telling you the truth.
One thing that was a little bit different, like Shepard polling, who we use for a lot of our polling, is they were doing QR codes, and you were hearing a little bit more about that, where they were having people, as they come out, they'll give people a QR code, you go ahead and take a picture of it, and then you can go and answer the question. So I believe they were taking a lot bigger sample. Now this is for our polling, but the Associated Press, I'm sure they're doing the same type of thing now.
Yeah, thousands of exit polls. I mean, thousands. So they have some real good insight, and I'll be interested in the evening. Let's see what happens in Oklahoma, Cleveland, Tulsa, what Canadian county. Those are the counties I want to see what's going to happen, especially in the governor's race. I want to see if it matches up with what the exit polls are showing.
Wait, can we get an early prediction? I know,
yeah, the one.
Let's just kind of put you on the spot here. Call the governor's race for us. Who do you think is going to come out on top?
The one with the most votes.
Oh, come on. No, it's 7 o'clock. It's early. We're just streaming right now. Go ahead.
We're just throwing dice on a situation like that.
You can't call it. You
can't. Here's why I'm saying. When you look at the pollsters who had Joy Hoffmeister ahead, when you kind of put them in a corner, give me an answer, a lot of them are saying to me, the governor pulls it out. So they're hedging.
This kind of gets back to the whole polling thing, because I think even like Bill Shapper was telling us earlier in the week that sometimes Republicans don't want to talk about who they're going to vote for.
Right. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, people don't trust them. A lot of the data being gathered up, just look around this country right now. There's great suspicion about elections, and a lot of people have conspiracy theories, and they act on them.
In just a moment, we're going to go out to Alex Cameron, who is in Washington, D.C., for us to talk about these two races that were just called. But before we go to him, Scott, will you just weigh in on what races you think we really need to be watching tonight?
Sure. The governor's race, the superintendent race, which I think is a proxy for the governor's race, and Oklahoma County, the DA's race there. And I'm interested in the bond issue. Okay, the bond issue is a ginormous issue and not a lot of $1 billion. There was a lot more focus on the jail vote, right, for a quarter of the money. So this one is something that there's just so much news, but that's a big deal.
The bond vote, we were talking about this earlier, needs to pass by 60%.
Plus one.
Correct,
Plus
60% plus
one.
one.
So
that's
a tall
different
task when we're talking about, close to $1 billion.
Yeah, and the community's behind it. I mean, community leaders are behind this issue. But 60% is a big old threshold, okay?
And Oklahoma City doesn't have the best history with passing some of these school bonds in the past.
That's right. And the governor's pointed out that it's been a long time since Oklahoma City's done something like this. And pointed out some of the counties around, including Tulsa, have done a lot more than we have. So it's interesting how this is going to go.
And we're kind of thinking about spending for Oklahoma City Public Schools. We saw MAPS 2 for kids. A lot of money went to Oklahoma City Public Schools. That was a sales tax, though. That wasn't a bond. Property taxes weren't going up.
And it's a long time ago.
And that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's a long time ago, right?
So I think a lot of people like the idea, but it also has critics that are well respected in the community,
Exactly.
have had success stories in the education world here in Oklahoma, and they don't think it's a good thing.
Yeah, Chris Brewster, the superintendent at Santa Fe, who's an incredible educator, okay?
And a huge success story for what charter schools can do.
Absolutely. Trent Smith, I did a stream yesterday. Amanda, you talked about it.
It was great.
To see it. Who is at the State Board of Education, OU football hero. He's saying, I don't want to just trash everything. He goes, but I think we can do a better job numerically with the next one. He says, I'll help tomorrow if it goes down. So it wasn't a vicious sort of disagreement. It was just sort of nuts and bolts disagreement.
But if this bond gets voted down, when's the next time we're going to see a bond issue for Oklahoma City Public Schools?
You can do it soon. I guess you can do it in March.
I mean, at half the cost, like a $500 million one? Or?
I'm not sure what the cost would be, but it'd be more expensive than not having one, right?
And we should also say the bond, what we're talking about here for Oklahoma City Public Schools, that would go mostly toward infrastructure, mostly toward the buildings. And that was some of the people who were against it. They were saying, we want this money to go toward our kids' education. What is going to make them better at school? So that was one of the arguments against it. But the money, and we're going to see if it passes tonight, that would go mostly toward infrastructure.
Oklahoma City Public Schools has been super transparent about this from the get-go, having a lot of these town hall meetings around town, just trying to explaining what it is they're looking to do here, building schools, helping transportation issues as well, buses, all that. So it's not like nothing's hiding here, right?
Exactly. And Trent Smith, when his criticism of this with the state school board, he said, look, he goes, I think that Superintendent McDaniel and Mayor Holt are great leaders on this, okay? And there was nothing personal about this at all. It was gentlemanly discussion, but it just came down to, I think we can do better and target students a little better. That's what the anti-folks say.
So what will the voters say? We are going to find out tonight. Still waiting on those precinct numbers to start coming in. We expect to get maybe some of the early voting numbers to come in very soon, and we'll be showing those to you. As those come in, you may start seeing them at the bottom of your screen if we're flashing them up there. Hopefully you can take a look there and we can show those to you. But I do want to go out to Washington, D.C. Alex Cameron's there for us.
We always kind of feel pretty cool when we get to send it out to our own Washington, D.C. Bureau reporter. Bureau Chief Alex Cameron in D.C. calls D.C. home now, providing reports for News 9. And Alex, this is kind of unprecedented here. We have so much up for grabs with Oklahoma, 7 congressional seats.
Yeah, I mean, we don't usually have all 7 seats in the state has 7 seats here in Congress. Normally there are 6, maybe only 5 up for grabs, depending on the rotation of the Senate elections, but all 7 up for grabs today. And, I'm not completely surprised that the AP called the 2 Senate races. I will be curious to see the numbers. Certainly Kendra Horn, felt like she had a chance to beat Marquayne Mullen. There were some polls that had suggested that she was within single digits at one point, so it'll be interesting to see. That's also been a fascinating race to watch because the outgoing Senator Inhofe, didn't really come out and give a glowing endorsement to Markwayne Mullin. He did tweet his endorsement of him, but he also this past summer made some fairly critical remarks of Congressman Mullin. So, he's not a huge Mullin fan, but at the same time, he didn't come out and speak a lot about it. And so, while I think that the Horn campaign had hoped there would be more attention paid to that, the fact that Inhofe wasn't a huge Mullin supporter, it obviously wasn't enough. And the voters out there are happy to keep Markwayne Mullin here in Washington, D.C. On the other Senate race, James Lankford, not a big surprise. I think probably, he would never admit this, but I would say that he was probably more concerned about his primary challenger that came from his right. But he was able to fend that off. And then, Madison Horn is a political newcomer. And so while she, worked hard and had good ideas, James Lankford is well respected. He's well liked across the state. And so voters are happy to let him serve another 6 years. Now let's take a look at some of these House races if we have a second. Let's start with the 1st District. Kevin Hern, a lot of people thought at first that maybe he would make a run for that open Senate seat, but in the end he decided he wanted to stay where he is, relishing the idea that Republicans would regain the majority in the House, and he being on the influential House Ways and Means Committee would get, an opportunity to really help shape tax policy. So, I don't know that any of these races have been called yet, but he's certainly a very heavy favorite to win there in the 1st District. 2nd District, that's the seat that's open because Markwayne Mullin left to run for Senate. And, Josh Burkeen's a name that many who follow state politics would know. He was a state senator. He also worked for the late Tom Coburn as a field rep. And so it appears that I think he's going to win that. And then, Frank Lucas in the 3rd District is a solid guy who's been here for a long time, frankly. There are people who talk about term limits. He's been here for over 20 years easily. And so, but people like him. And he stands up for the agriculture community. He stands up for science. He's a pretty moderate Republican as far as Oklahoma goes, but he's certainly very well liked, and I'm sure he's going to win re-election today. Tom Cole, likewise, has been around here now for 20 years and has earned respect here at the Capitol, and he's well liked in the 4th District. So no surprise that he is probably going to beat Mary Brannon. And then in the 5th District, Stephanie Bice, a relative newcomer seeking her 2nd term. And, again, I'd be very surprised, even though she had game challengers, if she is not reelected by a pretty significant margin. Even though, Oklahoma City, which makes up a lot of the 5th District, those district boundaries where we worked a little bit to make it a little more friendly to Republican candidates with more rural areas included in the 5th District. So I'm sure that she's going to be successful tonight. Carl, Amanda?
Great work, Alex. I always love getting his insight there from DC.
Yeah, absolutely. No one does it better than Alex Cameron, our Washington, D.C. Bureau Chief. We got Scott Mitchell in the House here. Could we just get Scott's take on the Mullin race and kind of, this is someone who didn't choose to debate anyone. There was no debate after he, for the general election, did not debate Kendra Horn. I think there was a feeling that he might, just because Kendra Horn was a congresswoman, just like he was a congressman, but
the strategy looks like it paid off.
If you're ahead in the polls, you don't do it.
Yeah, that's kind of a barometer. If you're not debating and you don't feel exposed, don't feel vulnerable, so you stay in the lead. That's kind of a time-tested sort of strategy, and that's what he did. And according to the numbers, it looks like that was the right move.
Yeah, that was a race that kind of, I think a lot of people thought it might be closer.
Just, the state issues sucking all the life out of the national election, right, in Oklahoma. The federal issues, after the primary, nobody was as much interested as we are all now on the governor's race, the superintendent's race.
So a little bit about Markwayne Mullin. He's going to be filling the 4-year term that U.S. Senator Jim Inhofe is vacating. So he had served 2 years, and now Mullin will serve the remaining 4. Lankford, as a U.S. Senator, will serve 6 years.
Mm-hmm. So, and he immediately, Congressman Mullen becomes a freshman in the Senate. So he's not going to have near the stature right now that Senator Inhofe had. And I was looking at those numbers with Tom Cole and Frank Lucas. They become even more powerful and more important to Oklahoma, especially when you start thinking about those military bases that Jim Inhofe spent his time protecting. So James Langford, Tom Cole, they're really they'll have to step it up.
More in just a moment. Stay with us, back in just a second. Great job.
One click. You don't have to subscribe. It's free. No time for an entire show? Pick out specific stories or weather info, and you can get more. Dig into the Weather Vault. See award-winning Oklahoma's Own originals and much more. Free programming to help you stay safe, informed, and entertained from your locally owned news channels. Download the News 9 streaming app today. Other stations wait for the National Weather Service to issue tornado warnings, not David Payne.
If I can get the warning out there, if I'm confident that it's going to produce a tornado or it's very close, I'm confident enough that I can say, you know, this is a News 9 tornado warning, and they're going to get the earliest warning. And I know there's, you know, some TV Mets, possibly in this market and other markets around the country, that would be like, what? What is he? Really? I don't think he's supposed to be able to do that. But what I do sometimes, I put myself in their position, a family at home, sitting on the couch watching me. And if I were to hear somebody say, hey, you have 30 minutes, you know, lead time. This thing is 20, 30 minutes away from hitting you. This is going to be a News 9 tornado warning. Your phone's not going to go off. You're not going to hear it on any other station. You know, we're confident that this thing is going to really try hard to produce a tornado or at least some severe weather. And so, you know, we hope and we think that it's kept people safe, and that's what it's all about.
Washington, D.C., one of the most important cities in the world.
I'm Alex Cameron. That's why I'm excited to head up Oklahoma's only locally owned Washington, D.C. bureau, so I can report to you about the things that matter to Oklahomans.
Only on Oklahoma's Own News 9. Locally owned means the best in the sky for you.
This rainfall has just been incredible. I-40 westbound down to one lane.
With the fastest news helicopter and the most experienced pilot, Jim Gardner.
125 miles an hour, fighting a Dependency fire. Extract these people from this car. There's two of them right there.
Giving you the perspective you can only get from the air.
We can track it mile by mile, 80, 90 miles an hour, and this tightened up really fast.
Bob Mills, Sky News 9, only on Oklahoma's Own News 9.
It's nice that our owners are born and raised here, and it makes a huge difference in where they want to invest. And part of our mottos, you know, is keeping Oklahomans safe. And it's pinned up in the Weather Center. I mean, it's what we do.
Times have changed. People can get their news a lot of different places, but that doesn't always mean the news is accurate.
So many people today feel like they're being cheated, right? They're only hearing one side. There's so much out there, right? And people aren't sure what to believe. And so I think that's our job. That's our job as journalists, to give people all the information.
News 9, we work really hard to make sure that we just put the facts out there, that we're reporting the story as it comes to us.
And to election night 2022 here in Oklahoma, and we have live team coverage here on Channel 9 as we are covering all the races tonight.
The early numbers are coming in, and 1% of precincts are reporting. Let's take a look at some of the really big races. Of course, the race for governor. Right now, really early, Joy Hoffmeister, the Democratic candidate, is in the lead with 53%. Governor Kevin Stitt, the incumbent, right now at 45%. But again, this is very early on in the night. Kevin Stitt would like to have a second term. And Joy Hoffmeister, you know, she was the state school superintendent, but she got term limited out. So she is running now for governor.
This is early voting, by the way, early voting, absentee voting. So that's why these numbers here, the 1% of precincts reporting. So numbers are just now coming in. And this is the race that probably is going to have us up all night, I would think, right? I mean,
it's expected to be close. The polls are very interesting. Some of the polls, you know, they're just neck and neck and a statistical tie, if you will. So that's one we're going to be watching. We'll be going back to that one very frequently throughout the evening. And now let's take a look at the U.S. Senate seat. This is the seat for Senator Inhofe. Now, Senator Inhofe is retiring, and so it leaves open the 4 years of his term. And this race, even though it's very early, the Associated Press has already declared a winner in it.
Yeah, Markwayne Mullin, the winner. I know you see the numbers there. You say, hey, it looks really close right now, but the AP, according to exit polling and all the data that they have through the years, they are ready to call this race. In fact, this race was called at about 7:05 tonight. Markwayne Mullin, the winner. So again, like you were saying, he's going to run for re-election in 4 years instead of 6.
Exactly, exactly. Let's go ahead too now and take another look at another race that has been called very early on in the night by the Associated Press. That is the other seat for U.S. Senate, and that is Senator Lankford. He was looking for a second term in this seat, and in fact, he has been declared a winner. As we take a look at the early numbers coming in right now, he has 54% of the vote. But the Associated Press feeling confident in their exit polling numbers that they went ahead and declared him a winner against Madison Horn.
Yeah, the Democrat, a cybersecurity expert, someone who's made a career in the cybersecurity world, and so she took a shot at politics here and actually had a pretty good campaign making it through the primary. But James Lankford, very popular in Washington, as you heard Alex mention, you heard Scott mention as well. So.
We're covering some of the other big races too. If we can throw up some of the other numbers, anything like the Superintendent of Public Instruction, that's a big one that we're watching. Ryan Walters against Gina Nelson. There's a look at the numbers there very early on. Gina Nelson with 53% of the vote. Ryan Walters very close with 47%.
And I take back what I said about the governor's race. I think this is the one. This is the one that we'll probably be watching even longer than the governor's race tonight. Because if you look at this polling, it's less than a percentage point among them.
So close, so
absolutely.
close. So we're watching that also. Bond issue for Oklahoma City Public Schools, that's a big one. We're continuing our coverage right now on news9.com, on our News 9 Facebook page, on digital, wherever you can get us on digital. We're going to continue our coverage live with our political analysts all the way through 10 o'clock.
And we'll have more cut-ins throughout the night, so stay with News 9 and flip over to news9.com to catch more continuous coverage.
See you there.
The secret is out. Leasing has begun at 2400. Our newest high-amenity property.
Get the latest
design and
newscast
decor,
on your
resort-worthy pool and fitness.
You don't have to subscribe. It's free. No time for an entire show? Pick out specific stories or weather info. And you can get more. Dig into the Weather Vault. See award-winning Oklahoma's Own originals and much more. Free programming to help you stay safe, informed, and entertained from your locally owned news channel. Download the News 9 streaming app today. Other stations wait for the National Weather Service to issue tornado warnings, not David Payne.
If I can get the warning out there, if I'm confident that it's going to produce a tornado or it's very close, I'm confident enough that I can say, you know, this is a News 9 tornado warning, and they're going to get the earliest warning. And I know there's, you know, some TV Mets, possibly in this market and other markets around the country that would be like, what? What is he? Really? I don't think he's supposed to be able to do that. But what I do sometimes, I put myself in their position, a family at home, sitting on the couch watching me. And if I were to hear somebody say, hey, you have 30 minutes, you know, lead time. This thing is 20, 30 minutes away from hitting you. This is going to be a News 9 tornado warning. Your phone's not going to go off. You're not going to hear it on any other station. You know, we're confident that this thing is going to really try hard to produce a tornado or at least some severe weather. And so, you know, we hope and we think that it's kept people safe, and that's what it's all about.
Washington, D.C., one of the most important cities in the world.
I'm Alex Cameron. That's why I'm excited to head up Oklahoma's only locally owned Washington, D.C. bureau, so I can report to you about the things that matter to Oklahomans.
Only on Oklahoma's Own News 9. Locally owned means the best in the sky for you.
This rainfall has just been incredible. I-40 westbound down to one lane.
With the fastest news helicopter and the most experienced pilot, Jim Gardner.
125 miles an hour, fighting a Depency fire. Extract these people from this car. There's two of them right there.
Giving you the perspective you can only get from the air.
We can track it mile by mile, 80, 90 miles an hour, and this tightened up really fast.
Bob Mills, Sky News 9, only on Oklahoma's Own News 9.
It's nice that our owners are born and raised here, and it makes a huge difference in where they want to invest. And part of our mottos, you know, is keeping Oklahomans safe. And it's pinned up in the Weather Center. I mean, it's what we do.
Times have changed. People can get their news a lot of different places, but that doesn't always mean the news is accurate.
So many people today feel like they're being cheated, right? They're only hearing one side. There's so much out there, right? And people aren't sure what to believe. And so I think that's our job. That's our job as journalists, to give people all the information.
News 9, we work really hard to make sure that we just put the facts out there, that we're reporting the story as it comes to us.
And you make the choice that you think's right for you and your family.
And thanks so much for joining us for Oklahoma Votes on our digital platforms. We're glad you're with us. We're just going to spend this next couple of hours talking about the very latest in the poll numbers as they're coming in, the election results as they're being decided, and also get some takes from our political analyst as well.
And we do have a couple of races that have already been called by the Associated Press, both Senate races here in Oklahoma. Markwayne Mullin, a winner according to the Associated Press, looking at exit data and I don't know, all their models from years in the past, all the algorithms, all that. They're saying Markwayne Mullin the winner at 7:05, and James Lankford, also no surprise there, but he has also been declared the winner by the AP. We do have someone with the Mullin camp. We have Felice Romero, who joins us now live, and she is hearing from the senator-elect. Felice.
Yeah, Carl, like you said, it's early in the night, but the AP called this race in favor of Markwayne Mullin. Now, as you can see, this election party is really in full swing. We have some music going, and there are some key races on the monitors. People are going up, talking to Markwayne Mullin, and really just, he's going around thanking his supporters for everything so far. We heard from Christy Mullin, his wife, and I spoke to Markwayne Mullin just before the polls closed. He was feeling very confident that he had the lead over his opponent. Here's what he had to say.
I just want to thank everybody for helping us. I mean, when we started this race a little over 250 days ago, we said we're in it to win it. And since that day, we haven't taken a day off. We've worked, we've had volunteers, our team has been remarkable, and it's resonated with people.
Now, it is still early in the night. Markwayne Mullin has been making his rounds, but he is expected to talk to the crowd tonight. And of course, we will be having more as he takes the podium. For now, reporting live in Tulsa, Felice Romero, Oklahoma's own News 9.
All right, so he's there in the building, shaking hands, thanking supporters, and eventually he'll get up on the podium. Not going to be a long night for him.
No. 1% of precincts reporting, but again,
it's kind of wild.
It's already been called for his race. So we got to see, how does Kendra Horn feel about this? Sylvia Corkhill, one of our great reporters, is out at her watch party right now at Jones Assembly here in Oklahoma City. Sylvia?
Amanda Carr, we are actually still waiting on Kendra Horn to arrive, but I can tell you what we are seeing after the AP called this race. All along, Kendra Horn was hoping to pull off the upset here in a deeply red state. I can tell you some of her camp and some of her supporters here we've seen scratching their heads, wondering how this race was called. They believe too early, thinking that it was far too close to call. They tell me they are still hopeful that she could pull off this upset, much like she did back in 2018. Now, we sat down with her early on in her campaign, and she emphasized not having an allegiance to party or person.
As I've said before, and I'll say again, I'm going to work with anyone when it's good for Oklahomans, and I'm going to stand up to anyone when it's not good for Oklahoma or Oklahomans.
Again, Ms. Horn just hopeful that she could pull off this upset. She said that she did not consider herself an underdog and thought that Oklahomans were ready for change. As soon as she gets here and we're able to visit with her, we hope to sit down and just ask her what she thinks about this being called so early. Live in Oklahoma City, Sylvia Corkhill, Oklahoma's own News 9.
Sylvia, okay, we'll be talking to you throughout the evening as well, especially if anything changes down there. Oklahoma County District Attorney race, that is a big one. Oklahoma County has not had a different DA in 16 years. So a new DA will take over tonight. 0% of precincts reporting for Oklahoma County. So these are all the early voting numbers, the absentee ballots as they've been counted.
Yeah, and this has been an interesting race to watch because you have Vicky Bahena, who is the experienced federal prosecutor, now a defense attorney, going against Kevin Calvi, who has been a legislator. He's also been the county commissioner. He's the current county commissioner. And his experience as far as prosecuting has been while he served in Iraq.
Right.
As a prosecutor. And he says, he prosecuted extremists that want to do harm to America. Basically, terrorists is who he was prosecuting. So Bahena has kind of questioned the experience that he has actually making decisions on how to prosecute, how to defend, and so forth.
And in their debate hosted by Nondoc and News 9, Bahena was saying, hey, I'm not a politician. I'm what you want. Kevin Calvi said, well, you know what? Being a politician might not be so shabby in this position because being a politician at the Oklahoma County DA, you might actually get some things done. You can help go to the legislature and they will listen to you, especially if the majority are Republicans. And then you can maybe get some change in state law if you need to. And I know what to do to keep talented staff. So that was his argument. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, Kevin Calvi has the endorsement of law enforcement. And one of the first things he said is if elected, he will drop the charges against the 5 officers involved with the Stavian Rodriguez shooting where he was killed by the police officers. And Bahena kind of got back at him a little bit, says, we'd have to look at a lot more than just videotape we've seen on the news to make that decision. And so, she's saying that you're pandering to law enforcement, and he's saying you're pandering to people who want to defund the police.
They both came out after each other.
They did.
In the debate. So that's a race that we are watching. Again, 0% of precincts reporting there. Watching some of the other big races as well. We have, of course, the state superintendent race for the state Superintendent of Public Education, Public Instruction. That's one that we are watching very closely. That's one that we're expecting to be very close throughout the evening. Taking a look at the numbers, because 8% of the precincts are reporting right now when it comes to the state superintendent. Gina Nelson, so close, 51% of the votes right now, with Ryan Walters right behind at 49%.
And I think almost like when we were talking about this race long ago, I don't know if anyone thought it was going to be this close. I think that Ryan Walters, appointed by the governor, Secretary of Education, I think he's kind of gonna roll on the governor's momentum and win this thing. And you had Gina Nelson, the 2020 Teacher of the Year, but she has definitely made a race of this thing. And if you look at polling right now, I mean, there's not a percentage point that divides them. It's like 0.4%. So it's anyone's race. This is the race that I think, again, it's going to keep us up all night.
So that's one we're watching. I want to go back now to the Oklahoma County DA race. We have our reporters covering all the races. We have them all over, including in Washington, D.C. But back to the Oklahoma County DA race, Colby Thielen, he is following Kevin Calvi's campaign. We're going to be checking in with him. In fact, if he's available now, let's go ahead and check in with Colby. Hi, Colby.
Hey guys, yeah, you pretty much nailed it earlier when you were kind of talking about the back and forth of this campaign. It really has been contentious. Both of those candidates getting their little barbs in earlier, their jabs in early on, both claims of corruption from either candidate toward the other. So it has been contentious, but really based on the debate, a lot of the issues it sounds like they agree on in terms of their prosecutorial strategy. The one difference as far as Kevin Calvi is concerned is prosecution of police officers. He believes that unless there is no shadow of a doubt that a crime could be charged and that it could win in court, that he would not bring charges against officers, and that's the pledge that he made as it concerns the 5 Oklahoma City police officers. Now, as far as tonight here at the Oklahoma GOP Watch Party, you've probably heard the list of names so far. Senator Langford giving essentially a victory speech, a lot of excitement around in this crowd at that moment. Certainly Ryan Walters is here, as well as Congressman Tom Cole. The one person we haven't seen so far this evening is Kevin Calvi. Now, there is a chance that he slipped in the side door during that acceptance or victory speech, I should say, because it is quite a packed crowd, a lot of energy and a lot of movement. So we're going to take another lap, see if we can find him. Haven't seen any signs of him tonight. As soon as we do, we'll check in with him on how he's feeling as those poll results start to come in. Until then, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Colby, great work out there.
And we have Vicky Bahena, who is Kevin Calvi's opponent, the Democrat. And going into this race, she was ahead in the polls. If you look at the polls right now, it looks like if it plays out to what the polling is, Vicky Bahena is going to win this race tonight. We're going to check in with her campaign. We have Angelicia Bruton with the Bahena campaign and joins us now live. Angelicia.
Carl, it seems like the second the polls closed, people started piling into Vicky Behenna's party. I know you can hear one of my favorite Justin Timberlake song playing in the background. I'm going to go ahead and move out the way so you guys can see this crowd that's here. Vicky Behenna is not here yet, but I did speak with her, and she says that she is confident that she will be elected the Oklahoma County District Attorney because of her resume that you guys talked about earlier. She did tell me that she is the only candidate that has a 360-degree view of the criminal legal system. She talked to me about being a prosecutor for more than 20 years. During that time, she was part of the prosecution team for the Murrah building bombing. Behenna was also the executive director with the Oklahoma Innocence Project. Her and Calvi do agree on a few things, one being that there needs to be changes within the DA office. She says that there's a lack of communication in the DA office between law enforcement, and she said that's a major concern for her that she plans to address. She has been doing some of that work already. She told me that she talked to a few police departments in the area and the sheriff's office. Live in Oklahoma City, Angelicia Bruton, Oklahoma's Own, News 9.
Angelicia, thanks. Okay, let's bring in Scott Mitchell one more time. Just kind of break down this Oklahoma County DA race, because it's interesting. We kind of talked about the polling numbers. We think that Behenna is probably going to win this race just based on the polls we've seen. What works for her here?
Well, first off, Shepard's polling, Sooner poll had her in the lead outside of the margin of error, so that's number one. Number two, this worked exactly different than the Mullen primary, okay? So the more Kevin Calvi, who's been around a long time, right, was exposed in the primaries, right? There was so much going on, the Galen Gigger primary, and then some of the things that he had to talk about during the primary. Vicky Behenna didn't have to do that, okay? Another thing, this county's not red anymore. This county's purple, all right? And so when you look at Oklahoma County, as opposed to the rest of the state, it's a different situation. So a Democrat such as Vicky Behenna competes on even ground in Oklahoma County.
It's different than the whole state.
It's totally different than the rest of the state. So, and also, and the third aspect of it is the Roe ruling, all right? That's affected so many races. It's brought women to the political table that haven't been there before or were not as excited in the past. And all three of those things have worked against Kevin Calvi in this particular race at this particular time.
And Behenna's primary, there not a lot of fireworks at all.
It was very quiet. So she was able to keep those keep the money she raised, and then spend it all at the right time, which is when people are starting to make up their mind.
And in this race, I'm guessing that people aren't really thinking about Oklahoma County DA until kind of late in the game.
Exactly. Exactly. So, and it was one of those situations where it still is one of the highest profile races in the state, even though it was not, it's not happening in Tulsa, for example. But yeah, it's a big sort of race that people look at going, there's so many subtext here, how's it going to turn out? And I think we're finding out.
We're going to take a look here in just a second at the Attorney General race to give you the latest on the numbers. But first, Scott, before we do that, we're talking about Republican, Democrat, Oklahoma County. I want to talk about the statewide picture because we have Joy Hoffmeister, who up until last year was a Republican. And then she changed her ticket to Democrat. She said it was to run against a man who had, quote, hijacked the Republican Party. Those were her words. Do you think that's going to help her in this instance where she's going to get the Democratic vote, but also maybe some of the independent or the Republican votes as well?
Yes. All right. And I think we're going to get back to exit polls now. So when Shepard and Kyle Lovelace and those folks for Sooner have been out doing exit polling, they're finding a large amount of Republicans are voting for Joy. And so what is happening is that she's siphoned off a lot of Republicans that Drew Edmondson couldn't do 4 years ago. She's outperforming tonight in early voting. She's outperforming where he was 4 years ago.
4 years ago, now Governor Kevin Stitt beat Drew Edmondson. He got about 54% of the vote 4 years ago. So you just saw the numbers with 12% of the precincts reporting statewide.
What do you think the main issue is for folks going to Joy?
Education. I mean, the education issue. There's a lot of folks have been talking about in the superintendent race stuff like the bathrooms, CRT, those sorts of things. But a lot of pollsters that I'm talking to that are not real high profile found that test scores were the biggest issue. Not teacher pay, but test scores. And so this discussion, along with inflation, I mean, she's having to deal with the Biden thing, okay, which is every candidate, Republican candidate in America says Joe Biden did this. But right now, it appears that she's competing evenly with the governor so far tonight, and that's the big issue is education.
You're saying test scores are hurting Joy.
Well, it's a big issue for for people who are looking at it.
Well, I think when you kind of break down the governor's race too, I think that you're talking about the cities being more purple, Oklahoma County, Tulsa County being more purple. Joy, we're looking at kind of some of these early numbers. Joy's really doing well in the core like that. And in the rural areas is where you kind of expect the Republicans to really clean up. But I think that this whole voucher program thing is probably helping her in rural. She's been having this whole message like, Stitt's voucher program is going to ruin rural schools. It's going to destroy rural schools.
That's the message. And it is the same message in the superintendent's race.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of if you were to call this race 4 years ago, you would say, or just like last year, you'd say probably Stitt in a landslide, right?
Yes, but, okay, I mean, I will make a prediction on that. Governor's not going to win Oklahoma County, all right? Yeah. So here's where this goes then. How big will his lead be in the rural areas? Will it make up for the urban areas where he's going to not do well tonight, all right? This is it's Oklahoma. It's all urban versus rural. But remember, rural Oklahoma is shrinking. And so that's the fascinating question tonight is rurals versus the urban areas, what's going to happen, and how much did he lose, the governor, and Ryan Walters lose on this voucher issue?
So we're going to be watching that throughout the evening. I'd love to go through just some of the numbers here. I mentioned the Attorney General's race. We haven't had a look at those numbers, so we'll take a look at that number. And then I think we should just run through some of the big races just to give everybody the very latest out there. The Attorney General right now, the race right now is between Gittner Drummond and Linda Steele. Gittner Drummond with 72% of the votes, 18% of the precincts reporting.
Yeah, I don't think this is much of a surprise to anyone after Gittner got through the primary there. And won pretty convincingly in the primary as well. Okay, we have Attorney General right there, and if you want to just kind of go through some of these races.
So we kind of already saw the governor's race. Let's go ahead and pull up the Superintendent of Public Instruction. We call it the State Superintendent race, and that's the one that we think is going to be very close as well, along with the governor's race. Right now, 18% of the precincts reporting, and Ryan Walters, the current Secretary of Education, with the slight lead for State Superintendent.
Appointed by the governor, and you see them campaigning the last couple of weeks together, and so we'll see if they both can pull it out tonight or if they are going to lose the challengers there.
Next one I'd like to see maybe the Oklahoma County DA. Why don't we go ahead and take another look at that, because that's one that we've been talking about. We're talking about between Kevin Calvi and Vicki Behenna, just to see the latest numbers there with 1% of the precincts now reporting. Of course, this is just Oklahoma County, and that's why we have fewer precincts reporting there. But Vicki Behenna right now with the lead at 63% of the votes there.
And if we could just put up the governor's race one more time, we can take a look at these numbers and kind of break down what's going on. Again, very early. Scott, when you see Irvin Yen there with 1%, did you think he might be a little bit higher? Do you think he might be a little higher at the end of the night? And is that gonna hurt Joy Hoffmeister and Natalie Bruno?
The Hoffmeister folks thought that Irvin Yen could hurt them, that he would be taking votes from them as opposed to, in a lot of traditional races, a Republican who goes independent often will take from the Republican. They did not believe that was going to happen, and he just didn't catch on. So, and we're not Georgia, by the way. So if neither one of the gubernatorial candidates gets 50%, it's, as Keith Gaddy says, first to the post wins. We're not Georgia, and what will happen tonight if Herschel Walker doesn't get 50%, there's a runoff down there. Does not happen in Oklahoma.
There's not going to be a runoff.
Not going to be a runoff.
The only race, if you will, or election that has to get more than 50% is the school bond issue. Oklahoma City, they basically have two propositions. It's kind of one big bond. It's about $1 billion worth of a bond. We'll take a look at how that's doing with just 2% of the precincts reporting right now. Early on, but 67% of people believe, and this is the bigger part of that bond issue, 67% say yes, it should pass, and this is a largely infrastructure bond right there. If we have that second proposal, this is a smaller proposal. They did have to split it up, but it also too right now passing. This is to purchase buses, but this would raise property taxes in Oklahoma City for the Oklahoma City Public School District.
Oklahoma City Public Schools kind of putting out numbers saying it's basically going to raise taxes for a home that's $100,000. They said about $78 a year for the next 11 years. So, if that is worth it, then I think that a lot of people want to see our schools improve. Is it worth paying that much more in property taxes? We'll see with Oklahoma City Public Schools if 60% plus one do say it is. But if you look at this race, though, the opposition, the critics of this are well-known people who who makes some very good points as to why that we shouldn't be doing this.
Yes, but I got to tell you, I mean, they're respected people. I see that Santa Fe Charter, Chris Brewster, and Trent Smith, folks who were saying no on this one. But I got to tell you, it's sort of like a referendum on the leadership of David Holt and Sean McDaniel, okay? And if you look at it as a referendum on their leadership, well, they're winning big.
Because David Holt, he came out on your program yesterday and he said this is needed because on average, Oklahoma City public schools on average are 70 years old. And he said, yes, we want money to go toward kids' education so that they can learn. But if you don't have AC that's working, if you don't have running water, then you're going to have issues with that as well. So he went on to say that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that this is it's just needed. It's overdue.
Yeah, anybody who's ever rehabilitated an old home, okay, and I have, I mean, they're money pits.
Yeah.
And so if you don't keep that sort of thing happening, if you don't keep the infrastructure going, they fall apart. I mean, that's what it boils down to. That was the mayor's point. We got to do it.
Well, so far, Oklahoma City Public Schools is having a good night. All right, more to come after the break.
Washington, D.C., one of the most important cities in the world.
I'm Alex Cameron. That's why I'm excited to head up Oklahoma's only locally owned Washington, D.C. bureau, so I can report to you about the things that matter to Oklahomans.
Only on Oklahoma's own News 9.
Times have changed. People can get their news a lot of different places, but that doesn't always mean the news is accurate.
So many people today feel like they're being cheated, right? They're only hearing one side. There's so much out there, right? And people aren't sure what to believe. And so I think that's our job. That's our job as journalists, to give people all the information.
News 9, we work really hard to make sure that we just put the facts out there, that we're reporting the story as it comes to us.
And you make the choice that you think's right for you and your family.
Locally owned means the best in the sky for you.
This rainfall has just been incredible. I-40 westbound down to 1 lane.
With the fastest news helicopter and the most experienced pilot, Jim Gardner.
125 miles an hour, fighting a Depency fire. Extract these people from this car. There's 2 of them right there.
Giving you the perspective you can only get from the air.
We can track it mile by mile, 80, 90 miles an hour, and this tightened up really fast.
Bob Mills, Sky News 9, only on Oklahoma's own News 9.
It's nice that our owners are born and raised here, and it makes a huge difference in where they want to invest. And part of our mottos, is keeping Oklahomans safe. And it's pinned up in the Weather Center. I mean, it's what we do.
Get the latest newscast on your schedule with just 1 click. You don't have to subscribe. It's free. No time for an entire show? Pick out specific stories or weather info, and you can get more. Dig into the Weather Vault, see award-winning Oklahoma's own originals, and much more. Free programming to help you stay safe, informed, and entertained from your locally owned news channel. Download the News 9 streaming app today. Other stations wait for the National Weather Service to issue tornado warnings, not David Payne.
If I can get the warning out there, if I'm confident that it's going to produce a tornado or it's very close, I'm confident enough that I can say, this is a News 9 tornado warning, and they're going to get the earliest warning. And I know there's, some TV Mets, possibly in this market and other markets around the country, that would be like, what? What is he? Really? I don't think he's supposed to be able to do that. But what I do sometimes, I put myself in their position, a family at home, sitting on the couch watching me, and if I were to hear somebody say, hey, you have 30 minutes, lead time, this thing is 20, 30 minutes away from hitting you, this is going to be a News 9 tornado warning. Your phone's not going to go off. You're not going to hear it on any other station. We're confident that this thing is going to really try hard to produce a tornado or at least some severe weather. And so, we hope and we think that it's kept people safe, and that's what it's all about.
Welcome to Oklahoma Votes. Thanks so much for watching us. We want to get you up to speed on everything that's going on here with our elections right here in Oklahoma. And one of the big ones tonight, one that everybody's watching, is the race for governor.
And let's look at the numbers right now. You see it's still very early, only 24% of precincts reporting, but Kevin Stitt holding on to a 6-point lead at the moment over Democrat Joy Hoffmeister. But this is something that if you're looking at polling, it's been very, very close for the past month or so. So it's still kind of a toss-up going into tonight. We have crews with both teams right now. We have someone with Kevin Stitt, also with Joy Hoffmeister. We're going to begin with Barry Mangold. He is at the GOP watch party watching up with the Stitt campaign. Barry.
Carl, Amanda, even the prominent Republicans who are at this watch party now expect the governor's race to be a close one. So to see in the last couple minutes the update where that shows that Governor Stitt has a lead of just under 30,000 votes over his challenger Joy Hoffmeister, that is certainly good news to the folks at this watch party. They have already celebrated the calling for James Lankford, who is declared the victor of his re-election campaign in the Senate, and so now they're hoping for that lead to grow for Governor Stitt. We'll be watching and we'll be getting more reaction. Barry Mangold, Oklahoma's Own, News 9.
Very great work out there. Now on the flip side, we have Brittany Toulis, who joins us live from Joy Hoffmeister's watch party. Brittany, what's the mood there right now?
Yeah, Amanda, here at the History Center, the crowd is still filling, but it's not as loud as what you heard over there at Barry's watch party, as people here are kind of talking to each other, but I can still see people look down at their phones. It looks like they're anxiously watching those polling results roll in. Now, Hoffmeister also still hasn't made her entrance here. Now, the current state superintendent is trying to win the governor's seat, this time as a Democrat. Hoffmeister ran and won as a Republican for her current role, and she says that her experience as state superintendent will help address the state teacher shortage, and that will help by putting more people in the classrooms to help those teachers, like paraprofessionals, reading specialists, and school counselors. Now, right now, as you guys said, this race is jockeying back and forth, but according to the state election board, Hoffmeister is leading in the state's most populated counties, and that's Oklahoma, Tulsa, Cleveland, and Muskogee counties. And I'll check back in with you guys when Joy does get to her watch party, but for now, live at the Oklahoma History Center, Brittany Toulis, Oklahoma's Own, News 9.
Great work there, Brittany. Again, about 24% of precincts reporting, so we still have a ways to go, and this is expected to be one of the closer races of the night.
And we are talking about this strategy by Joy Hoffmeister. I mean, this is a race that she switched parties to battle Kevin Stitt.
Right, just last year, she was a Republican and switched parties to run against him on the Democratic ticket. We're watching this race, and let me tell you, we know you're probably watching us on TV right now. If you flip over to news9.com or on any of our social media platforms, we are going to be going on live past this for the next 2 hours, talking with our political analysts and all of our reporters in the field.
Scott, put a hand in so people know you're here.
He's here.
He's right here. We'll be checking in with Scott a little bit later.
See you there.
Washington, D.C., one of the most important cities in the world.
I'm Alex Cameron. That's why I'm excited to head up Oklahoma's only locally owned Washington, D.C. bureau, so I can report to you about the things that matter to Oklahomans.
Only on Oklahoma's Own, News 9.
Times have changed. People can get their news a lot of different places, but that doesn't always mean the news is accurate.
So many people today feel like they're being cheated, right? They're only hearing one side. There's so much out there, right? And people aren't sure what to believe. And so I think that's our job. That's our job as journalists, to give people all the information.
News 9, we work really hard to make sure that we just put the facts out there, that we're reporting the story as it comes to us.
And you make the choice that you think's right for you and your family.
Locally owned means the best in the sky for you.
This rainfall has just been incredible. I-40 westbound down to one lane.
With the fastest news helicopter and the most experienced pilot, Jim Gardner.
125 miles an hour, fighting a Depency fire. Extract these people from this car. There's 2 of them right there.
Giving you the perspective you can only get from the air.
We can track it mile by mile, 80, 90 miles an hour, and this tightened up really fast.
Bob Mills, Sky News 9, only on Oklahoma's Own, News 9.
It's nice that our owners are born and raised here, and it makes a huge difference in where they want to invest. And part of our mottos, is keeping Oklahomans safe. And it's pinned up in the Weather Center. I mean, it's what we do.
Get the latest newscast on your schedule with just one click. You don't have to subscribe. It's free. No time for an entire show? Pick out specific stories or weather info, and you can get more. Dig into the Weather Vault, see award-winning Oklahoma's Own originals, and much more. Free programming to help you stay safe, informed, and entertained from your locally owned news channel. Download the News 9 streaming app today. Other stations wait for the National Weather Service to issue tornado warnings, not David Payne.
If I can get the warning out there, if I'm confident that it's going to produce a tornado or it's very close, I'm confident enough that I can say, this is a News 9 tornado warning, and they're going to get the earliest warning. And I know there's, some TV Mets possibly in this market and other markets around the country that would be like, what? What is he? Really? I don't think he's supposed to be able to do that. But what I do sometimes, I put myself in their position, a family at home, sitting on the couch watching me. And if I were to hear somebody say, hey, you have 30 minutes, lead time. This thing is 20, 30 minutes away from hitting you. This is going to be a News 9 tornado warning. Your phone's not going to go off. You're not going to hear it on any other station. We're confident that this thing is going to really try hard to produce a tornado or at least some severe weather. And so, we hope and we think that it's kept people safe, and that's what it's all about.
And thanks so much for joining us here as you're watching us probably on our social media platforms or maybe on news9.com as we are doing live coverage, and we have our teams out all over the state as we continue our Oklahoma votes coverage.
And we think the race that might keep us up the longest tonight, the race for state superintendent,
That's
because
a big one.
It was polling super close and has been for quite some time between Ryan Walters and Gina Nelson. Right now, Walters has a little bit of a lead, an 8-point lead. That's only very early in the night, 31% of precincts reporting. We do want to check in with Haley Wager, who she's with the Walters campaign tonight. Haley, and she has Mr. Walters. Go ahead.
Absolutely, Carl. I am here with Republican candidate Ryan Walters. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling great. We're seeing Oklahomans came out and spoken. Every vote counts. Every vote matters. So we're not there yet, but we're seeing a great response from voters here in this campaign, and we knew we would.
Absolutely. There's a lot of energy. You've been talking with me about some of the things you would want to implement if elected tonight. What are some of those things?
Yeah, voters want more accountability and transparency over their taxpayer dollars. What we've seen is left-wing indoctrination in the classroom, and parents want to see that getting out of the classroom. That comes with transparency. That comes with showing parents what's going on. It comes with empowering parents. Parents also want to see more money in the classroom. They want to see more money to teachers, not bureaucracy. And so that's some of the accountability I'm going to bring to this office.
You've also been talking about the red wave, a full sweep for the Republican Party. Talk to me a little bit about how you're feeling with that tonight.
Yeah, what we've seen is Joe Biden brought the most radical agenda the country's ever seen. And so we're seeing the country repudiate what Joe Biden has brought into our states, into Oklahoma, and we are not going to allow this nonsense into our state, and the country has spoken loudly and clearly. Joe Biden's agenda is not welcome here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We'll be here as those results come in. Live in Oklahoma City, Haley Wager, Oklahoma's own News 9.
All right, Haley, thank you very much.
Now, on the flip side, against Ryan Walters is Gina Nelson, the Democratic challenger, and Chris Yu has been at her watch party. Let's go ahead and check in with Chris now for the latest from there. Chris?
Yeah, Amanda, more and more people are showing up to Gina Nelson's watch party here at the Embassy Suites Med Center here in OKC. Behind me, you can see a lot more supporters here mingling amongst themselves. Nelson she is still not here just yet, but we are told she is in the building tracking the results. We did get in touch with her this morning while she was voting in Edmond. She was in good spirits and told us that she is very appreciative of her journey to Election Day as she got to talk with her supporters from all across the state. We talked with her a bit about her priorities during past interviews. She told us she wants to keep public dollars in public schools. She wants to expand internet access in rural schools and communities, and she wants to, another focus of hers is improving the mental health of students, which is why many of her supporters, including Amy Whitewater, who we just talked with moments ago, told us that why they are supporting her.
Gina has really written into her pillars and her plans to some supports for student mental health, and that's something that's very important to me. Oklahoma has one of the highest ACEs scores in the country, and we know that our students are dealing with a lot of trauma and a lot of grief and things, even with the pandemic and even before the pandemic. And Gina has a plan to provide lots of support for those students as well as their teachers, and so for those reasons, she'll get my vote.
Nelson is an English teacher at Class and SAS Middle School with 17 years of experience in education. She was also 2020's Oklahoma State Teacher of the Year. Again, we are at her watch party. She is not in the ballroom just yet, but we are told she is closely tracking the progress of the race. Of course, we'll keep you updated when we do see her and talk with her. But For now, live in OKC, Chris Yu, Oklahoma's own News 9.
Okay, Chris, as soon as we get more information, as soon as she shows up in that state superintendent race, we'll be going back out there live.
The other thing we're watching here in the education realm is the bond vote for Oklahoma City Public Schools, almost $1 billion to education, most of that to infrastructure. Building and remodeling schools, also some transportation money as well. This is one of two parts right here. So far, very early, but it's a good night right now for Oklahoma City Public Schools, which needs 60% plus one of the vote to get this thing passed.
So this is the first, the bigger part of the proposition. The second, smaller part of the proposition is this one. It is also passing right now. This one will go toward purchasing school buses. But again, like Carl mentioned, this one would also need 60% plus to pass. But that would be big news for the Oklahoma City Public School District, as their average age of their schools in their district 70 plus years, and so the mayor said that this is needed. The infrastructure repairs are definitely needed. That was the big push there to get this to pass.
The mayor been pretty good on social media, I think. Mayor David Holt has, actually kind of pointing out what's been spent in neighboring counties and neighboring school districts, and what's currently being spent. I think he had the comparison that more public schools over $500 million in their bond, and Oklahoma City Public Schools is getting $180 million. So.
And he did also make the point, too, that taxes will be raised if this passes, but he did say that the tax rate is still less than, say, neighboring districts like Deer Creek. Their taxes are more expensive when it comes to public education. So we'll be following that. Only 9% of precincts reporting right now, so still a ways to go.
They should have that one counted, I would think, somewhat quickly. I know that the votes are coming in rural Oklahoma pretty quick, but Oklahoma City Public Schools, hopefully they'll get an answer pretty quick on this bond issue. Let's bring in Scott Mitchell if we can, just to kind of, I know you're kind of looking at where these votes are coming in from, and what does it tell you in this bond issue, and also races that we're covering throughout the night.
Well, more than likely, these are the early votes are rural areas. Because the way this works, it's kind of cool. I mean, what happens is they count the votes, and then the folks have to drive it to the county election board, okay? So if you're in rural Garvin County, that's a smaller box, right? The big boxes come in late. And so for example, on this one right here, I mean, we know what's happening here. I mean, this is all local. But from a statewide standpoint, it's going to be a late night. I mean, we're going to start to see the lead start to shrink, okay, for both Walters and for Governor Stitt at some point. And then it becomes, where's it going to go? That's your prediction, which is could be a late night.
I think so, at least in those two races for sure. So when do you think we'll start getting these numbers coming in from Oklahoma County and so forth? I'm looking at
statewide races right now at like 207. I'm going through this. There's a whole lot of areas where they're just about halfway through counting. But if you're out in the big cities, I mean Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Muskogee County, Canadian County, Cleveland County, it's going to be a while.
Okay. I want to toss up, I'm just hearing that Mark Wayne Mullen, Senator-elect, is taking the stage. Let's go ahead and listen in.
We never wanted to do something by just occupying a seat. We want to fight for this country. The fight's too big for us to just sit back, and we wanted to be in the fight. Because I've raised these kids the same way my dad raised us. You walk towards pressure. You don't back up, you walk towards it. And we had a lot of things going on, but the problem was they needed us to make a video. And I still had to get to the wrestling tournament to see these kids wrestle. And I don't miss that. And so we were headed down the road, and they called and they said, hey, we need you to make a video. And Chrissy goes, hey, I can just lean forward while you're driving. Someone got to stop. We make this video going down the road and said, we're in it to win it. And we did it. And believe it or not, that video took one take. It did. Yeah, we did it one take going down the road. And, you know, when we said that, too, we said no one would outwork us. My dad and I, we were talking the other day, and he was talking about how his dad raised him, and he said, you know, my dad always raised me that you never let anybody outwork. And I always said the same thing, I'll never let anybody outwork me. But I've got to back up on that one, because my team of volunteers outworked me. You guys did amazing things. See, we still had a full-time job working for the United States House of Representatives. We still had a full-time campaign. We still had our companies. We still had a family. And there wasn't one day in the last 256 days that our volunteers wasn't out there literally working their fingers to the bone. And I want to thank you all for that. Because nothing we do in this realm is done by ourselves. If we don't have people supporting us, if we don't have people fighting for us, this doesn't happen. If I don't have a wife that gets up every morning and wishes me the best and gives me a kiss goodbye and says, okay, when I'll see you again, and then calls and checks on me all the time just to see how it goes, guys, I'm not in a good mood and I can't do my best, but I had a wife that supported me all the way through it. I had kids that were understanding when I was gone for days and sometimes a couple weeks at a time, that they just kept carrying on. They just kept on going through each day. And I think it honestly sometimes makes our family stronger. But then the prayers that you guys give us, the text messages, the phone calls, just saying, man, we're praying for you. And very seldom do you guys ever get a call back that I didn't say, pray for my wife and kids, because if it wasn't for them being happy, I wouldn't be happy either. So once again, I want to thank you for that. Now, what's at hand here? Well, the red wave just started. We're getting this country back. We're saying no to this left agenda that tried to even come after us here in Oklahoma. We're saying no. No, that's not who we are. We're saying no to this socialist agenda that this Biden administration has pushed down on us. The last 2 years, and I'm not trying to steal a line from as many as I can from him, but there isn't anybody in this country that can honestly answer the question that they think we're in better place than we were 2 years ago. No one can answer that question and be honest about it. Guys, sitting back and doing nothing isn't okay. And there isn't a person in this room that has sat back and done nothing. You guys have all been involved. You guys have all been in this fight with us. And guys, I guarantee you nobody will work harder than us in Washington, D.C. to get this country back on track. Now, I will say, I'm going to miss some Saturday events because it's wrestling season, guys. And once again, did I say I don't miss those things? Although I'm not getting to coach as much as I used to because the kids are getting bigger. And they got these other coaches. So I'm not hurt by that, guys. But I appreciate you letting me sit on the mat every now and then just to appease me. But guys, we're really in, and this is what I mean by this, we're really in a fight for our country. And it's one we can't lose. We can't lose it. It's not something that's an option. This is no option. As Kirsty says all the time, that's not an option. It's not an option for us. It's not an option to go back. It's not an option to lose. It's not an option for us to not be in the fight. It's not an option for all of us to not be in this fight. Can you think what would happen if we continued 4 more years with Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Biden running this country? I mean, can you honestly think what would happen? Right now, inflation's at a 40-year high. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Energy Department came out with a note that said it's going to cost the average American $7,000 more this year for energy than it did last year, and the average household income in the state of Oklahoma is $40,000. Where are they going to get that? They're not. This is their other report too. They said 1 in 6 Americans right now are already behind on their energy bills. Guys, this fight is bigger than all of us. We're fighting for the future of our country. We're fighting to make sure that we don't go down this rabbit hole they're trying to lead us down. And I know I'm speaking to the choir because all you guys are here. But that stuff, it doesn't look to me as a challenge that's not overcomable. To me, it looks like a challenge that needs to be conquered. To me, it looks like an opportunity for us to succeed. Think about what I'm saying here. Guys, we're going to win this fight. Because everybody here on this stage, my kids are dependent on it. The kids that are in the audience are dependent on it. And guys, did I tell you I hate to lose? I really hate to lose. But I'm going to get personal just 1 second with you all. Who would have thought that a little country boy from Westville. As you guys can still hear, I still struggle sometimes with speaking that had a bad speech impediment, that had a bad temper, and my dad once said I was going to end up in prison or end up successful. I could get frustrated enough to say, hey, we can do something about it. Because in our family we have a saying, you're never going to change anything you're willing to tolerate. Think about any other country you can do that with. There's no royalty in our family. But we're blessed to be born in a country that says if you want it bad enough, you can go get it. It's just, are you willing to dedicate enough time to it? Are you willing to sacrifice enough for it? What is it your dream that you want to accomplish? What is it in your mind that you think that you want to do? Because the only limitation we have on ourselves is us, because that's the country we live in, and that's the country we need to continue. We're not a socialist country, we're a republic. We're for the people, by the people. We get to make our decisions. And that's why when I got frustrated, when we first started this fight, when I got frustrated back in 2011, was it 2011? I didn't have a beard and I didn't have any gray hair. I only had 3 kids. Politics is tough on the family. You're gone all the time. You come home, have a honeymoon, have another kid, I guess. I don't know. Anyway. We're married. It's okay. It's okay. Wow. And I got elected to Senate today. Wow. Who could have thought? Guys, but what I'm trying to get at is this country is awesome. And we need to maintain it. We need to maintain these freedoms we have, and we don't need to give up an inch. We've gave up too much, and we need to get it back. Every time government gets big, that's right. I honestly can't think of something that the government's got involved in that goes, wow, they did a great job with that. Think about it. We need to shrink the size of government. We need to bring it back down, and we don't need to limit anybody to what they are or what they want to be. It's just, what is your dream, and go get it. We need to be embracing our family units. We need to be encouraging our kids. We need to be helping people, not limiting people. And we can do that. But we also can't do it without Christ in our life. Because the single biggest change that ever happened to me, other than this, well, no, the single biggest change that ever happened to me was giving my heart to the Lord. But the other one is you, obviously. Because she dreamed a lot bigger than I did. And she encouraged me to do more. And she supported me through it all. Even when I was 19 years old, acting like an idiot, married, and we decided in a little apartment just down the road from here at 71st and Mingo, 61st and Mingo, 71st and Mingo, that we didn't want to live our life that way, and we went to Assemblies of God just down the road. And I gave my heart to the Lord. Even though I was raised in church my whole life, it was different. It changed me. And I want everybody to experience that and have that opportunity for that. Because, guys, it was the single biggest difference. I'm not saying I've been perfect. Lord knows I haven't, right, babe? Yeah. I haven't been perfect.
We've been listening to Senator-elect Markwayne Mullin, the declared winner, taking over Senator Inhofe's open seat now that Senator Inhofe is retiring. Senator Inhofe retiring after 28 years in office, and he leaves 4 years of his term left. And so Markwayne Mullin will then take over those 4 years.
And I think hats off to the Mullin campaign, because I don't think there's been a misstep along the way for him since I mean, this wasn't a close race. It's not a close race tonight. And it wasn't in the primary as well when he faced all those candidates, right?
So you can see the latest numbers right there as they continue to pour in. Markwayne Mullin, 62% right now.
He got the money into that campaign. He got the money, and he was on the airwaves very early with like kind of simple messages that boys shouldn't be competing against women and girls in sports.
And we can talk to our political analyst a little bit more too about his messaging, and we'll do that in just a second. But yeah,
I mean, it all worked for him, and he was going against a very good opponent in Kendra Horn, someone who's been there, someone who has been a congresswoman in the past, and hoping to get back to Washington. We have more from Kendra Horn's camp. We have Sylvia Corco, who's live at the watch party in Oklahoma City, in downtown Oklahoma City at the Jones Assembly. And Sylvia, if we have you, go ahead. What's the mood like now?
Carl, Amanda, well, as I said earlier, a lot of folks were just kind of scratching their heads, uncertain why this race had already been called. They maintained that it was still far too early to do that. Now, we're still waiting on Kendra Horn to arrive, but I was able to speak with her camp. They tell me while the AP has declared this race, Markwayne Mullin the victor, you just heard Mullin give his victory speech, they say that the thought of conceding hasn't even crossed their minds, at least not just yet. Now, earlier today, Horn was joined by supporters as they marched to her polling location. Now, Horn then was confident she could flip the Senate seat. Her team still maintaining this race is far too early to call, hoping to pull off another upset.
We shocked a lot of people in 2018. We're about to really shock the world and show Oklahoma and show the country what happens when we come together and we can flip this Senate seat and change things for this state.
Now, Horn's camp tells me right now they are watching the Oklahoma County numbers closely as they start to trickle in. Live in Oklahoma City, Sylvia Corkill, Oklahoma's own News 9.
Sylvia, thank you. Quick break, and we'll be back with more in just a second.
Locally owned means the best in the sky for you.
This rainfall has just been incredible. I-40 westbound down to 1 lane.
With the fastest news helicopter and the most experienced pilot, Jim Gardner.
125 miles an hour, fighting a defensive fire. Extract these people from this car. There's 2 of them right there.
Giving you the perspective you can only get from the air.
We can track it mile by mile, 80, 90 miles an hour, and this tightened up really fast.
Bob Mills, Sky News 9, only on Oklahoma's own News 9.
It's nice that our owners are born and raised here, and it makes a huge difference in where they want to invest. And part of our mottos, is keeping Oklahomans safe. And it's pinned up in the Weather Center. I mean, it's what we do.
Times have changed. People can get their news a lot of different places, but that doesn't always mean the news is accurate.
So many people today feel like they're being cheated, right? They're only hearing one side. There's so much out there, right? And people aren't sure what to believe. And so I think that's our job. That's our job as journalists, to give people all the information.
News 9, we work really hard to make sure that we just put the facts out there, that we're reporting the story as it comes to us.
And you make the choice that you think's right for you and your family.
Other stations wait for the National Weather Service to issue tornado warnings, not David Payne.
If I can get the warning out there, if I'm confident that it's going to produce a tornado or it's very close, I'm confident enough that I can say, this is a News 9 tornado warning, and they're going to get the earliest warning. And I know there's, some TV Mets, possibly in this market and other markets around the country, that would be like, what? What is he? Really? I don't think he's supposed to be able to do that. But what I do sometimes, I put myself in their position, a family at home, sitting on the couch watching me, and if I were to hear somebody say, hey, you have 30 minutes, lead time. This thing is 20, 30 minutes away from hitting you. This is going to be a News 9 tornado warning. Your phone's not going to go off. You're not going to hear it on any other station. We're confident that this thing is going to really try hard to produce a tornado or at least some severe weather. And so, we hope and we think that it's kept people safe, and that's what it's all about.
Washington, D.C., one of the most important cities in the world.
I'm Alex Cameron. That's why I'm excited to head up Oklahoma's only locally owned Washington, D.C. bureau, so I can report to you about the things that matter to Oklahomans.
Only on Oklahoma's own News 9. Get the latest newscast on your schedule with just one click. You don't have to subscribe. It's free. No time for an entire show? Pick out specific stories or weather info, and you can get more. Dig into the Weather Vault, see award-winning Oklahoma's own originals, and much more.
Welcome to our coverage of Oklahoma Votes 2022, and it's already been an exciting night. We have some races that have already been called, and some it looks like they're going to take us long into the evening.
This
is one of the main ones here.
Some were but look at the lead seems to be widening right now, as 62% of the precincts are reporting, and right now, incumbent Republican Kevin Stitt, he has more than 100,000 votes more than Joy Hoffmeister. He is trying to get his second term as Governor of Oklahoma, Joy Hoffmeister, recently switching parties to Democrat so she could run against Republican Kevin Stitt.
And you look at that number there, this is not a close race. Polling said it was close, and it's very early in the night, and we're trying to figure out kind of where these votes are coming from. We're going to hear more from Scott Mitchell on that. But right now, it's a rural Oklahoma that's come in early, those votes, and we're still waiting on a lot to come in from Oklahoma County, Tulsa County, and Cleveland County, the three biggest counties in Oklahoma. But it's one we're watching right now, and so we will see if Kevin Stitt can pull it out and win re-election.
One that is closely mirroring that race happens to be the state superintendent, that superintendent of education. Let's take a look at those numbers because it was a close race at one point with 67% of the precincts reporting. Right now, Republican Ryan Walters with more than 100,000 votes over Gina Nelson. He right now at 58%. He is the state
Secretary of Education, appointed by Kevin Stitt, and so they have been campaigning, Stitt and Walters, for the last month or so together. You see them at events all the time. So right now, that ticket's winning. The Walters-Stitt ticket is winning.
A couple of races have already been called. We'll just go through the two of those in the U.S. House District. Let's look at U.S. House District 2 because this is going to be the seat that Mark Wayne Mullen, he vacated when he went to run for U.S. Senate. So Josh Burkeen, he has won that race. The AP called that one already. So he will win House District 2, U.S. House District 2, U.S. House District 3 as well. That is going to be Frank Lucas. He is the declared winner there. He has been in Congress since 1994.
No
and he will
surprise
continue
there.
Another term.
Real quick, I do want to bring in Scott Mitchell just to get an idea of some of these races for governor, also state superintendent, on where the votes are coming in. What are we waiting on?
We're waiting on Oklahoma and Tulsa County. Only 5 minutes ago, only 12 of 531 precincts reported in. But I got to tell you, when you look at the early voting, I mean, the governor did really good in that. Also in the superintendent of public instruction, they did good. Early voting is not where the Democrats would like it to be. Okay,
I was going to ask, what does that tell you?
It tells me that they're going to have lopsided wins in Oklahoma and Tulsa County for Ms. Hoffmeister and Ms. Nelson to pull it out.
So you're saying that the path to victory right now, it's starting
really
to get narrower.
Really slim because of the trends right now.
Okay. All right.
We're going to be watching it throughout the evening, talking more with Scott, going over the latest numbers as they're coming in. Make sure you watch us right now on our digital channels, on news9.com, on our social media. We'll be continuing this conversation in just a couple of seconds.
And we'll see you throughout the night.
Locally owned means the best in the sky for you.
This rainfall has just been incredible. I-40 westbound down to one lane.
With the fastest news helicopter and the most experienced pilot, Jim Gardner.
125 miles an hour fighting a Depency fire. Extract these people from this car. There's two of them right there.
Giving you the perspective you can only get from the air.
We can track it mile by mile, 80, 90 miles an hour, and this tightened up really fast.
Bob Mills, Sky News 9, only on Oklahoma's own News 9.
It's nice that our owners are born and raised here, and it makes a huge difference in where they want to invest. And part of our mottos, you know, is keeping Oklahomans safe. And it's pinned up in the Weather Center. I mean, it's what we do.
Times have changed. People can get their news a lot of different places, but that doesn't always mean the news is accurate.
So many people today feel like they're being cheated, right? They're only hearing one side. There's so much out there, right? And people aren't sure what to believe. And so I think that's our job. That's our job as journalists, to give people all the information.
News 9, we work really hard to make sure that we just put the facts out there, that we're reporting the story as it comes to us.
And you make the choice that you think's right for you and your family.
Other stations wait for the National Weather Service to issue tornado warnings, not David Payne.
If I can get the warning out there, if I'm confident that it's going to produce a tornado or it's very close, I'm confident enough that I can say, you know, this is a News 9 tornado warning, and they're going to get the earliest warning. And I know there's, you know, some TV Mets, possibly in this market and other markets around the country, that would be like, what? What is he? Really? I don't think he's supposed to be able to do that. But what I do sometimes, I put myself in their position, a family at home, sitting on the couch watching me, and if I were to hear somebody say, hey, you have 30 minutes, you know, lead time, this thing is 20, 30 minutes away from hitting you, this is going to be a News 9 tornado warning. Your phone's not going to go off. You're not going to hear it on any other station. You know, we're confident that this thing is going to really try hard to produce a tornado or at least some severe weather. And so, you know, we hope and we think that it's kept people safe, and that's what it's all about.
Washington, D.C., one of the most important cities in the world.
I'm Alex Cameron. That's why I'm excited to head up Oklahoma's only locally owned Washington, D.C. bureau, so I can report to you about the things that matter to Oklahomans.
Only on Oklahoma's own News 9. Get the latest newscast on your schedule with just one click. You don't have to subscribe. It's free. No time for an entire show? Pick out specific stories or weather info, and you can get more. Dig into the Weather Vault, see award-winning Oklahoma's own originals, and much more. Free programming to help you stay safe, informed, and entertained from your locally owned news channel. Download the News 9 streaming app today.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Votes. Thanks so much for watching us wherever you may be tuning in, whether it be on one of our social media channels or on news9.com. We're going to go over some of the latest numbers. I do want to mention really quick an interesting tidbit about the governor's race. Joy Hoffmeister right now is losing 73 of the 77 Oklahoma counties. She is only leading in Oklahoma, Cleveland, Payne, and Tulsa counties. Sid is either one or he's leading in every other county. You can see the latest numbers right there. We have about 70% of the precincts reporting right now.
It's a huge lead, and we think that lead is going to shrink as Tulsa County comes in, as Oklahoma County comes in, as more of Cleveland County comes in. Will it be enough? I mean, because that looks like a pretty wide margin right there. We've been talking to Scott about this. It looks like rural Oklahoma went huge for Stitt, and as they did 4 years ago.
So we'll see if that lead that he has shrinks and if it makes a difference. Another race, let's go through some of the numbers we haven't had a chance to show you. Let's talk about the Oklahoma County District Attorney race. That one's been contentious if you listen to their debate. A latest look at their numbers, 30% of the precincts reporting. Again, this is just Oklahoma County. And Vicki Behenna right now, the Democrat, with 59% of the votes.
A commanding lead right there over Kevin Calvi, and Vicki Behenna has been saying you need someone experienced as the Oklahoma County DA. And she has experience. She's been a federal prosecutor for 25 years, been a defense attorney for the last 9 years. And Kevin Calvi is a county commissioner. He's been a legislator, and he was prosecuting terrorists, as he says, on his campaign.
He was a captain in the U.S. Army in Iraq.
In Iraq, serving in Iraq, and prosecuting criminals there. So it looks right now like Vicki Behenna, and we should say the polls were showing that she was going to win this race, but commanding lead right now. Still early, but these are the numbers now coming in from Oklahoma County.
It has been 16 years since Oklahoma County has had a different DA. David Prater is retiring, so he's leaving that post, so that opens it up. Our reporters are out all over the state covering all of these watch parties for us. Let's go ahead and start with Kevin Calvi's watch party. We have Colby Thielen there for us right now. Colby?
And I think you'd rather hear what I have to tell you. Hey guys, well, maybe no surprise, Kevin Calvi's watch party is also the Oklahoma GOP watch party, and it looks like they just took the stage, so we're going to step out of the way here so you can see what's going on. But yeah, you're talking about those numbers, and certainly a wide margin to overcome for Kevin Calvi at this point. I know he's going to be hoping that the other 70% of the districts, as they report, that maybe it'll swing in his favor. He was hopeful that not only in addition to being county commissioner, but his experience in the legislature as well, that voters might look at him and say, this is somebody that not only is a Republican, which he believed would help him with the state legislature, but somebody that's worked in the legislature that would be able to procure funds for the district attorney's office, also be able to help change policy within the district attorney's office, because he believes that there needs to be changes. Just as his opponent, Vicki Behenna, said as well, both of them seem to believe it had to do with some communications issues between law enforcement. But we just saw a little bit ago Calvi's campaign manager. He tells us that Mr. Calvi should be here just a little bit later on, and we plan to speak with him and just gauge where he's at, how he's feeling as these numbers continue to come in. But again, only about 30% of the precincts in Oklahoma County reporting at this moment. We'll continue to follow those numbers as they come in throughout the night. Keep it right here for all the latest. From the Oklahoma GOP Watch Party, Colby Thielen, Oklahoma's own News 9.
Okay, Colby, thank you. And on the other side of that, we have Vicki Behenna's campaign, and Angelicia Bruton is covering that campaign. She joins us now live, and I'd imagine it's starting to get kind of exciting down there at Camp Behenna.
Carl, it's pretty much packed here at Vicky Behenna's party, and every time we show the full screen on air, you can hear cheering erupt, and you've also got a few people dancing for Vicky. We've got some of my little friends back here dancing. They've pretty much been killing it all night. We haven't been able to find Vicky. She's missing out on the party, but I did speak with her days ago, and she said that she is confident because she has the experience. She says her resume speaks for itself. She says she is the only candidate with a 360-degree view of the criminal legal system. She talked to me about being a prosecutor for over 20 years, so she says she's used to being in a courtroom. During that time, she was part of the prosecution team for the Murrah building bombing. I think they're showing the results now. You can probably hear the cheering behind me, but she also talked about experience, and she says that's the reason that she's going to win this race. She was also part of the Oklahoma Innocence Project. She recently resigned so that she can campaign full-time, and she tells me she's leaving it up to the voters to vote for the most qualified person for the DA. Live in Oklahoma City, Angelicia Brutson, Oklahoma's Own, News 9.
You mentioned the Oklahoma Innocence Project. That is a group that works for the exonerations of wrongfully convicted persons. So she gave that up so she could do this race.
Yeah, and she's having a good night right now. That lead, it looks like it's growing as more precincts come in from Oklahoma County. We're waiting for the rest of Oklahoma County to come in the governor's race.
I'm going to see if that makes any difference. Let's look at the latest numbers as we right now have 75% of the precincts reporting across the state. Incumbent Governor Kevin Stitt right now still with the lead, 57% of the votes, maintaining that more than 100,000 vote lead over Democratic candidate Joy Hoffmeister.
Yeah, and we have Scott back at the desk. We'll wait till he gets all mic'd up. We're going to kind of ask him about where these numbers are coming in. But this is what we're looking at here is rural Oklahoma coming in a big way. And I think we just had, what was it, 74 of 77 counties?
74 out of the 77 counties. Joy Hoffmeister,
winning.
yes. Joy Hoffmeister is losing 74 out of the 77.
The rest of the counties that have to come in, though, the big ones, Oklahoma, Tulsa, Cleveland County, I think, also hasn't come in totally. So we'll see if the lead shrinks. But Scott, we were kind of talking about that this number, that's bad news right there for Joy Hoffmeister. They probably knew they're going to be down when rural Oklahoma came in, but not by that.
No, and they thought they'd do better in early voting. And there was exit polling information showing that she was peeling off some Republicans. The rurals are coming in strong for the governor. All right, and so I think when this is all over, you're going to find the star of the show was Joe Biden. I mean, that's, when you start talking about what Washington, listen to what Senator-elect Mullen said tonight, talking about D.C. They are the perfect villain for Oklahoma, District of Columbia, and they went hard after the Joe Biden thing, which every Republican in this country did, all right, because it polled out good. Joe Biden is the reason for all these problems, they were telling folks. And in rural Oklahoma, it's working.
So that has been a successful campaign when you consider that for
super successful messaging.
Okay.
Could we? I don't want this to be kind of an ultimatum on polling, or just a referendum on polling. But when we're looking at the polling, and there was this, it's going to be a red wave. It's going to be a red wave, except in the governor's race. That was 3 weeks ago. Except it's way tighter. But it really it's kind of playing out like it is the rest of the country.
Well, if you look at that number, that's a 17-point lead right now. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going to stay that way. Of course, I've been saying that for an hour, and it keeps increasing.
And now we got 75% in.
Yeah. So, and there was 2 or 3% undecided, is what the most of the polling showed. That's not very many people undecided, right? Mm-hmm. So again, it begs the question about what the methodology is, but there's still a lot of votes to be counted. I mean, that number could change, but if it stays that way, it's once again, it's like, where are we getting our numbers from? What's going on here?
And I feel like kind of Stitt, it seemed like if we were looking at the ads on TV, it seemed like he kind of owned the airwaves. I mean, they both obviously had a ton of ads just in the last few days.
There was a lot of dark money coming out, too, toward ads. How much did that play a role in what we're seeing tonight?
Well, candidates don't have to such a big role in their own campaigns anymore because you've got the dark money doing all of the negative work, right? The campaigns kind of come with the nice stuff. You saw the governor at the very end of the campaign. He was doing it where he's just looking into the camera and saying, hey, we got to stop Joe Biden from doing these things to Oklahoma. It was very upbeat, right? So that's the way they used to end campaigns, by the way. You start off nice and then go negative and then be nice on the end. Well, but the dark money does that the whole time. So it's changed the calculus about how you run campaigns. But so far tonight, the strategy for the governor appears to be working very successfully.
Are you surprised by this, or was this just kind of like, well, kind of saw that coming if you look at the rest of the country?
No, I am surprised. Okay.
What part surprises you, though?
I think that the numbers, the distance between the Superintendent Hoffmeister and the governor, 17 points, that's a big number. There's very few people would have believed that. Okay? Because just the momentum.
And a lot of people were wondering, too, if Joy Hoffmeister, former state superintendent, some school districts let their teachers out today so that they could go vote as well, if that was going to make a big difference. Her background with the schools.
I did have one thing that I was thinking early on was we're going to see how the get out the vote operations work, okay? Because when it comes right down to when you have people that are for you, you still got to go to the polls, okay? I mean, the pollsters could well have been absolutely on the button, right? But the governor's people did a better job of getting people to calling them, busing them to the polls, making sure that they vote. The better GOTV votes actually are the ones that win the most races, okay, when they're close.
That's
so
interesting.
This really
it still plays such a big role in it.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter what the pollsters say. If you have a bad get out the vote campaign, then you're going to lose big time. That does not; these numbers do not necessarily mean the pollsters were wrong.
Okay. We're watching those numbers. One more look at the very latest on the governor's race in terms of the precincts reporting, 75% of the precincts reporting, and Governor Kevin Stitt remains with the lead at 57% of the votes.
And we'll see if it's enough. It appears right now that it's going to be enough in the end, and we'll see what the percentage points are for his victory. But that's the way it looks right now. And again, Scott, you mentioned that things could change.
Let's see how it's feeling over at the watch parties right now.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead to Barry Mangold, who is at Governor Kevin Stitt's watch party. Barry, how's it going?
Well, Amanda, Carl, it is just about every candidate except for Stitt at this moment. State Treasurer candidate Todd Russ just declared victory, and right now we're hearing from Lieutenant Governor and candidate Matt Pinnell, who is also declaring victory right now. Several Republican candidates are celebrating the results that we're seeing at this moment. We know many of these races have been called, but not the governor's race. But just looking at the most recent results, we're seeing Governor Stitt with a just over 140,000 vote lead, leading by 16 points over challenger Joy Hoffmeister. We have not heard from his campaign or from Stitt himself at this point, but we're seeing several other Republican candidates take the stage and celebrate the results they're seeing. And based on the trends that we've been seeing in the past hour or so, if the trends continue, I'm sure we'll be seeing Kevin Stitt celebrating soon as well. We'll report back when we see more from the governor. For now, reporting live in Oklahoma City, Barry Mangold, Oklahoma's Own News 9.
Okay, Barry, we'll talk to you in just a little bit.
Joy Hoffmeister also having a watch party. We have Brittany Toulis joining us now live from that watch party. Brittany, go ahead. All right, we'll try to get Brittany. We'll try to hear from Brittany, but as these numbers come in, it is maybe a little bit surprising if you looked at the polls going into this, kind of went back and forth. We do have Brittany now. Brittany, what's the mood like there with the Hoffmeister camp?
Hi, Carl. So right now, the mood here at the Oklahoma History Center is a lot more subdued than it is over there at the GOP party. Right now, the music is the loudest thing we can hear and not the crowd. Now, when I look around, I see a lot of people standing around and even sitting at the tables, almost looking like a poker tournament with all of the buttons in the middle looking like chips. And all these people are glued to their phones watching these polling results come in. Now, as you guys said, Governor Stitt is leading, but with the polls going into this election, our News 9 polls especially showing how close this race was, a lot of these Hoffmeister supporters are not throwing in the towel just yet and will probably be hanging on until all those cows come home at the end of the night, and those cows meaning those votes being tallied. Now, Hoffmeister is running as a Democrat on this ticket. She was the state superintendent for the last 2 terms, and she ran and won that race as a Republican. Now, she says even though she's running as a Democrat, she is an independent thinker and an Oklahoman running for Team Oklahoma, And now she doesn't align with state Democrats on all views either, and one of those is the death penalty. Now, state Democrats want to put an end to all executions, whereas Joy Hoffmeister says it's in the state constitution and she'll uphold that. Now, Hoffmeister has also said she wants to repeal restrictive abortion bans signed into law by Governor Stitt, saying that those decisions are between the pregnant person, their doctor, and their faith. And Hoffmeister has also been very vocal in opposing school vouchers, also known as school choice, calling that plan a, quote, scheme and a rule school killer, going as far as to say that when schools close, regional hospitals will also follow. Now, Hoffmeister has yet to come into her watch party. At one point, we did hear Shania Twain's Let's Go Girls come out, and I thought she might make an entrance when the one, you guys know the part came out, but it didn't happen. And I will let you guys know when she does come into this watch party. But for now, live at the History Center, Brittany Toulis, Oklahoma's own News 9.
Brittany, thank you. We'll talk to you shortly as well. If anything changes out there at the watch party, let us know. Another race that was close at one point, and now more than 130,000 votes separate right now the winner between the second place person. I hate to say loser, but you know, when you just have two people, you're either going to win or you're going to lose. Let's take a look at the numbers. State Superintendent of Schools, Public Education, right now 79% of the precincts reporting, and Ryan Walters with 58%.
And this race parallels what's going on in the governor's race right here. And this is another race. I think this is the closest poll we had, right? This was within a point last week. Within a point. I think it was like Walters by 0.4%. 0.4. And now he's kind of running away with this. The lead expected to shrink as more precincts come in, and these are the precincts in Oklahoma County, Tulsa County, Cleveland County, not all in, I don't think yet. But
Ryan Walters, the current Secretary of Education, he was appointed by Governor Stitt back in 2020, and he has experience too in schools. He was a high school teacher in McAllister and also in Millwood.
Yeah, an AP history teacher, and so he was in the classroom for 8 years. And as a teacher, and he has some interesting ideas about how to keep teachers. That's the big thing that you heard both these candidates talk about, how we can keep teachers in Oklahoma because we're losing them to neighboring states. And he wants to create legislation where the best performing teachers in Oklahoma can earn a six-figure salary.
And one thing that he was really supporting is school choice. In other words, if you don't think your kids' school's performing very well, then you as a parent, you could get that public education money that would have gone to your kid, and you can put it toward a private education or a home school. Speaking of Ryan Walters, we have our reporters out covering his campaign.
He is also at the GOP watch party downtown. We have Haley Wager, who joins us now live from there. Haley.
Results are beginning to come in, and spirits are still very high. As you can tell, a lot of energy in this room here with the Republican GOP party. A lot of confidence in this room as the results continue coming in. I've been speaking to Walters all night. He says he's confident with the whole Republican Party. He says they're looking for that red wave, a full sweep for the Republicans. He says he's driven over 1,800 miles in the last 3 days across the state. He says voters have been clear about wanting a rejection of a liberal agenda. He says voters tell him they want Republicans in charge. Walters has also talked a lot about giving parents the power in their child's education. He wants to implement the Parent Choice Program, the voucher program. He says this will ultimately give the best opportunity for success for students in the state. Now, Walters has also said the very, very first thing he'll do if elected is conduct his own audit of the State Board of Education. He says this is the best way to ensure taxpayer dollars are going to teachers and going to the classroom. And we'll be here at the Embassy Suites in Northwest Oklahoma City all night as those results continue to come in. Live in Oklahoma City, Haley Wager, Oklahoma's own News 9.
It is definitely loud in there, and we want to go out now to his opponent, Jenna Nelson. Chris Yu is out at her watch party. Chris?
Yeah, Amanda, we're at the Embassy Suites watch party here for Jenna Nelson, where her campaign manager tells me they are cautiously optimistic right now, despite trailing Ryan Walters. As y'all just said, right now behind me, you can see that her supporters are still gathered here, but we're still waiting for Nelson to show up here at the watch party at the ballroom of the Embassy Suites. But we did catch up with her earlier this morning as she was voting in Edmond. And from our previous conversation, she told me that her top priorities include addressing mental health for students, as well as keeping public dollars in public schools, as well as just retaining teachers, paying them more, increasing or rather improving school culture. We talked with supporters about how her experience as a teacher with 15 years of education can help should she be elected.
I
I came to know Gina Nelson when she was Teacher of the Year. I was one of the state finalists for Teacher of the Year, and so I met her that way. And I just became friends with her, and I just knew at that time that I was like, her love for education, and I think that she would be a wonderful voice for all the teachers. She's been in the classroom. She knows what we need and we're at the front lines all the time with these students, and I think that she would meet our needs, and I think that she is definitely for the teachers and for the children of the state of Oklahoma.
Nelson is currently an English teacher at Classen SAS Middle School, and although she has not arrived at the watch party just yet, her campaign manager tells us she is closely monitoring the race with her family. Of course, we'll be here to keep you updated on the race as it progresses. For now, live in OKC, Chris Yu, Oklahoma's own News 9.
At Gina Nelson's watch party. Chris, thank you.
We have the other one in the education realm that we are watching, and that is the school bond vote for Oklahoma City Public Schools. There are two bonds. They total about $955 million. It needs above 60%, and right now it's looking good and has been for the past hour or so. And so this would provide new schools, remodel existing schools, and the other part of this would help out transportation issues.
Right, and it is passing right now as well. We are going to be watching all these races very closely and checking in with all of our reporters who are out across the state. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Get the latest newscast on your schedule with just one click. You don't have to subscribe. It's free. No time for an entire show? Pick out specific stories or weather info, and you can get more. Dig into the Weather Vault. See award-winning Oklahoma's Own originals and much more. Free programming to help you stay safe, informed, and entertained from your locally owned news channel. Download the News 9 streaming app today. Other stations wait for the National Weather Service to issue tornado warnings, not David Payne.
If I can get the warning out there, if I'm confident that it's going to produce a tornado or it's very close, I'm confident enough that I can say, this is a News 9 tornado warning, and they're going to get the earliest warning. And I know there's, some TV Mets, possibly in this market and other markets around the country that would be like, what? What is he? Really? I don't think he's supposed to be able to do that. But what I do sometimes, I put myself in their position, a family at home, sitting on the couch watching me. And if I were to hear somebody say, hey, you have 30 minutes, lead time. This thing is 20, 30 minutes away from hitting you. This is going to be a News 9 tornado warning. Your phone's not going to go off. You're not going to hear it on any other station. We're confident that this thing is going to really try hard to produce a tornado or at least some severe weather. And so, we hope and we think that it's kept people safe, and that's what it's all about.
Washington, D.C., one of the most important cities in the world.
I'm Alex Cameron. That's why I'm excited to head up Oklahoma's only locally owned Washington, D.C. bureau, so I can report to you about the things that matter to Oklahomans.
Only on Oklahoma's Own News 9. Locally owned means the best in the sky for you.
This rainfall has just been incredible. I-40 westbound down to one lane.
With the fastest news helicopter and the most experienced pilot, Jim Gardner.
125 miles an hour, fighting a Depency fire. Extract these people from this car. There's two of them right there.
Giving you the perspective you can only get from the air.
We can track it mile by mile, 80, 90 miles an hour, and this tightened up really fast.
Bob Mills, Sky News 9, only on Oklahoma's Own News 9.
It's nice that our owners are born and raised here, and it makes a huge difference in where they want to invest. And part of our mottos, is keeping Oklahomans safe. And it's pinned up in the Weather Center. I mean, it's what we do.
Times have changed. People can get their news a lot of different places, but that doesn't always mean the news is accurate.
So many people today feel like they're being cheated, right? They're only hearing one side. There's so much out there, right? And people aren't sure what to believe. And so I think that's our job. That's our job as journalists, to give people all the information.
News 9, we work really hard to make sure that we just put the facts out there, that we're reporting the story as it comes to us.
And you make the choice that you think's right for you and your family.
Welcome to our live coverage of Oklahoma votes as we continue the coverage as the numbers continue to come in. We want to go first off to one of the big races we've been watching tonight, and more precincts are reporting now. 83% of precincts reporting, and here is a look at the very latest when it comes to governor.
And we were predicting this is going to be a long night in the governor's race. We're going to have to wait until, wee hours to finally get a winner here, and that's not the case right now. 83% of precincts reporting, so a good chunk of precincts reporting. I know we're still waiting on Oklahoma County, Tulsa County to all get in there, but Kevin Stitt with a commanding lead right now. Now you'd expect with these numbers from the metro areas, the bit larger metro areas in the state to shrink a little, but I don't know if it's going to shrink 17 points. It just doesn't seem like that's going to be the case.
There's a look at the governor's race by counties, and that paints the picture right now and where all those numbers are coming from. Let's go ahead and bring in our political analyst, Scott Mitchell, to talk about that. What is your take as you look at that map there, Scott?
That looks like a red wave. That's what that looks like.
And that's what they were hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, it turned out exactly the governor's plan and the Ryan Walters plan. It's almost like Ryan Walters was the vice president, right? I mean, it's
they
almost
were
how they ran
campaigning very close.
The numbers showed that they were very close, right? So it does everything that they wanted it to do. And so, at this particular point in the evening, you're going, well, what's next?
Right.
Okay.
Well, like those numbers right there, what does it say about like school vouchers? Something that Stitt couldn't even get heard on the floor of the legislature.
Yeah, it caused problems in the Senate, okay, for Republicans. Here's what it says. It says that people are really upset with the education establishment in Oklahoma. I mean, anybody who doesn't take that away is not dealing with reality here, okay? It's a bad night for the traditional education groups. It's not a great night for tribal leaders who put all of their brand behind it and all of their integrity behind it. They did not win.
They were endorsing Joy Hoffmeister.
They did. And this governor, I mean, tomorrow he's a lame duck, okay? Even though he's been reelected. So he's not going to run for governor again. And what does this make him? Well, from a national standpoint, people are going to notice this, okay? They're going to notice the real brash way he went about doing this, taking on the education leaders. And most importantly, he spent a lot of time saying two words that are going to get attention around this country, and those are Joe and Biden, okay? So if you don't think that national Republican leaders around this country tonight are going, look what that Stitt fella did in Oklahoma and how he ran that campaign, that's what's happening tonight. He's going to move to a different level. The governor's race for 2026 starts tomorrow, okay? And there's probably another new name into it tonight if I were just guessing. So there are 4 or 5 folks already thinking about running for Republican governor in 4 years. But I got to tell you, this is a huge night for the governor, but not just Oklahoma, but where he may go nationally.
Okay. A lot more we have to get to. We want to talk about all the numbers as they're coming in, all of the winners tonight, and more analysis from our political analysts. We're going to be continuing this conversation on news9.com and all of our social media channels as well.
Yeah, switch over. We continue our conversation with Scott Mitchell, and we'll be on News 9 throughout the night, but hopefully you can join us for our continuous stream.
Washington, D.C., one of the most important cities in the world.
I'm Alex Cameron. That's why I'm excited to head up Oklahoma's only locally owned Washington, D.C. bureau, so I can report to you about the things that matter to Oklahomans.
Only on Oklahoma's own News 9.
Times have changed. People can get their news a lot of different places, but that doesn't always mean the news is accurate.
So many people today feel like they're being cheated, right? They're only hearing one side. There's so much out there, right? And people aren't sure what to believe. And so I think that's our job. That's our job as journalists, to give people all the information.
News 9, we work really hard to make sure that we just put the facts out there, that we're reporting the story as it comes to us.
And you make the choice that you think's right for you and your family.
Locally owned means the best in the sky for you.
This rainfall has just been incredible. I-40 westbound down to 1 lane.
With the fastest news helicopter and the most experienced pilot, Jim Gardner.
125 miles an hour, fighting a Depency fire. Extract these people from this car. There's 2 of them right there.
Giving you the perspective you can only get from the air.
We can track it mile by mile, 80, 90 miles an hour, and this tightened up really fast.
Bob Mills, Sky News 9, only on Oklahoma's own News 9.
It's nice that our owners are born and raised here, and it makes a huge difference in where they want to invest. And part of our mottos, is keeping Oklahomans safe. And it's pinned up in the Weather Center. I mean, it's what we do.
Get the latest newscast on your schedule with just one click. You don't have to subscribe. It's free. No time for an entire show? Pick out specific stories or weather info, and you can get more. Dig into the Weather Vault, see award-winning Oklahoma's Own originals, and much more. Free programming to help you stay safe, informed, and entertained from your locally owned news channel. Download the News 9 streaming app today. Other stations wait for the National Weather Service to issue tornado warnings, not David Payne.
If I can get the warning out there, if I'm confident that it's going to produce a tornado or it's very close, I'm confident enough that I can say, you know, this is a News 9 tornado warning, and they're going to get the earliest warning. And I know there's, you know, some TV Mets, possibly in this market and other markets around the country that would be like, what? What is he? Really? I don't think he's supposed to be able to do that. But what I do sometimes, I put myself in their position, a family at home, sitting on the couch watching me. And if I were to hear somebody say, hey, you have 30 minutes, you know, lead time. This thing is 20, 30 minutes away from hitting you. This is going to be a News 9 tornado warning. Your phone's not going to go off. You're not going to hear it on any other station. You know, we're confident that this thing is going to really try hard to produce a tornado or at least some severe weather. And so, you know, we hope and we think that it's kept people safe, and that's what it's all about.
Oklahoma votes 2022, and we have been watching what we are describing as a red wave. We've seen it throughout the country, and it's crashing here in Oklahoma as well.
We are seeing that tonight. We just saw it with the governor's race when we showed you the latest numbers. Now we want to go to the state superintendent race, the superintendent of education, of instruction here in Oklahoma. 85% of the precincts reporting, and Ryan Walters still with the lead, and that lead's widening. He has 541,000 plus votes. 58% of the votes right now going to Ryan Walters.
In a race that mirrors the governor's, they're very similar numbers when you're looking at the percentage points right here for Ryan Walters, who wants to do a few things different with education. We have our political analyst Scott Mitchell here, and just kind of going through, and we're basically thinking that this lead's going to hold up and then some. So. What did Ryan Walters have in throughout the state that just kind of worked with voters?
Well, obviously he was touching on issues that are cultural, all right? Also, the thing that I noticed is that, well, some polling talked about teacher pay and test scores as being two of the top issues, maybe test scores being the top issue. Ryan was talking about other things. He was talking about bathrooms, CRT, other things that apparently are cutting really closer to home for Republican voters than some of these other issues like teacher pay and also the test scores.
And he was so outspoken on it too.
Yeah, brash.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, there's not any shrinking violet there. I mean, he's straight up. And so a lot of people thought, well, that's going to alienate people. Look at this, what we've seen tonight. We've seen a United States Senator elected, Senator-elect Mullen, who talked very straight. He wasn't very polished. We were listening to the speech, you know, and we were like listening how the different ways that he talks, and we're like, it connects. Okay.
Well, Mark Wayne Mullen reminds me of, or I think he's doing this on purpose. He's trying to like this image of John Dutton in Yellowstone. Okay, he's got his Mullen Ranch fleece vest that he wears. The interviews, he drives his truck that says Mullen Ranch on the side. That's in ads. And he's like a plain-spoken guy, and I'm saying if you watch the show Yellowstone, you fall in love with Kevin Costner's character. So I can see why he's doing that. But you're right, just kind of these simple, you know, he wasn't talking about inflation at the time when he burst on the scene. He was kind of like, I don't want boys competing in girls' sports, and kind of simple messages like that are like, yeah, I don't want that either.
Yeah, it reminds me of remember the Mike Tyson quote. Everybody's got a plan until you get hit in the nose.
Yeah,
right, that's sort of the way he communicates. And some a lot of Oklahomans have connected to that in the same way with Ryan Walters. I mean, very in your face. These are the issues I'm concerned about, and obviously it touched a nerve and got a lot of support.
When it comes to Ryan Walters, I just want to let our audience know some of the things that he had been vocal on. You mentioned some of them. One of the big things was school choice. So do you think he's really going to be pushing for vouchers for parents?
100 miles an hour. I mean, if this is not a mandate to do that, based upon what's happened tonight, the things he was talking about, school choice, this is a complete, I hate to use the word repudiation, but this is akin to a total outright rejection of a lot of the organizations in Oklahoma that represent classroom teachers and educators. He went right after them. He says, I don't care about that. This is what I care about. And Oklahomans give him a resounding win tonight, which appears by all means he's going to have a big, big mandate.
How about tying student performance to teacher pay? This is his idea of paying the best teachers in Oklahoma, getting them a salary above 6 figures, kind of basing that on test scores, I assume. And he's been saying that as well. So I'm like, you don't hear about that now.
You don't, but tomorrow, whenever he gives his first presser, there are going to be people asking about what's your agenda, and people will be listening to it with a different ear, especially in the media, okay? Because the media, when we're listening to campaigns, we're filtering it through what's actually going to happen in real life when the campaign's over, right? So tomorrow, whenever he gives his presentation on what he wants to do next, I think he'll be more very, very vocal about where he wants to be and much more clear.
Another thing he had mentioned during his campaign is he wants to require all the history teachers in Oklahoma to undergo training by Hillsdale College course. So that was a little bit of controversy there, but that's something he put out there as well. So we'll have to see if he stands behind that.
Yeah, it'd be a mandate for teachers to basically take a democracy class or U.S. history class?
You know, and yes, for Hillsdale, and just basically here's what the ABCs of education and of government. But here's the point. I mean, in a lot of the campaign attention to Ryan Walters, his opponents really belittled him, kind of made fun of him, right? You don't think this is going to come back in spades? Okay, this is going to be one of those things that he's going to be taking the things he said that people belittled, and he's going to push them forward because he said he was going to do it. Now he's got a mandate.
If we talk about vouchers, and I know that we kind of brought this up a little bit earlier, but critics of vouchers are basically saying that this is going to destroy rural schools and rural communities, and they're just not going to have the schools there anymore. In rural Oklahoma, he did awesome. Ryan Walters did awesome. He wants vouchers. So we're going to see vouchers?
Well, this is inside Republican baseball, okay? Because the House of Representatives, and by the way, I mean, tonight I think what just happened was Speaker McCall just became the most powerful politician in Oklahoma, all right? The governor's going to be a lame duck. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. He's going to go national. He's going to get a lot of national attention. But the Speaker's the only leader right now that doesn't have a challenge to his position. He's got what he wants to do. They got 2 more years over there. And it was the House of Representatives led by McCall, Eccles, and those leaders over there who said, no, we're not going to do vouchers. It's a problem for our rural lawmakers. There are no rural Democrats left in Oklahoma. It's all Republicans. So, Carl, answer to your question is, it's not just up to the governor or to Ryan Walters. This has a lot to do with the House leadership and rural Republican members.
But when you win with that margin, you would think that he's going to have some power coming in there and demanding it.
They'll try to peel a couple of them off, no doubt about that.
Yeah. Let's look at the numbers one more time from the state superintendent race, with 85% of the precincts reporting Ryan Walters still with that lead. 58% of the votes going to Ryan Walters, the Secretary of Education, former high school teacher as well. Speaking of education, I'd like us to look at the numbers when it comes to Oklahoma City, that big bond issue. Nearly $1 billion bond issue strictly for Oklahoma City Public School District. And what this is for is the infrastructure to repair and remodel a lot of their schools. And it has to pass with at least 60% of the votes plus 1. And right now, this is the biggest part of it, this proposition here. And it is right now passing with a little more than half of the precincts reporting.
Yeah, still have a lot of precincts to go, but this is looking good and has been the whole night.
It has. And then the second, a lot smaller portion of that bond, it would take care of the buses. They did have to split it into 2 different groups, and that also passing right now. That will raise taxes for Oklahoma City residents who have children in the Oklahoma City School District and the property taxes. But it is going to go to repair those schools, and the mayor said that the average age of those schools here in Oklahoma City, 70 years old. He said there are some that, you like historical buildings, but you don't want them for the school. That's what he said. And so he said some of these they have to be repaired.
And I think the critics saying that kind of too much money for infrastructure and not enough for in the classroom for the students themselves.
Well, you're actually going to see the students learning, right?
We haven't seen a bond issue in Oklahoma City. I mean, how long has it been since the last bond for Oklahoma City Public Schools? 20 years when you're talking about MAPS?
MAPS,
and that was a sales tax thing. It's been 20 years. So I understand right after MAPS, you can't go and ask the voters for a bond here, but time has passed and it looked like they had the perfect time. I also think their campaign on this, they got the mayor involved early, and they went out to have all these kind of town hall meetings all over town.
The mayor said it was overdue.
Yeah, it was overdue, and I think they won over a lot of people.
Some people, too, were wondering, well, the teachers need the money. Here's the thing when it comes to the bonds, you can't pay for teachers' salaries. That doesn't work when it comes to bond issues. So this will go for the infrastructure, for the school buildings themselves.
And if you're breaking down the costs, these are numbers from Oklahoma City Public Schools. They say a home worth around $100,000, you would pay $78 a year for about 11 years to pay for this bond.
Let's run through some of the other numbers while we're at it here, just to see where everything stands. Oklahoma County DA, that is a big race, one that we've been watching all evening long. And Vicki Behenna maintaining that lead. She still has 57% of the votes. Oklahoma County, 50% of the precincts reporting right there. Vicki Behenna, a federal prosecutor, former U.S. attorney for 25 years. And she was on the prosecution team against Timothy McVeigh.
And she had, obviously a ton of experience, and she touted that, said Kevin Calvi doesn't really have an experience in this, and he's a career politician. He's the Oklahoma County Commissioner right now. In the end, that resonated with voters, especially here in Oklahoma County.
Let's go through now the U.S. District, House District races. We had all of these up tonight. House District 1, let's go ahead and take that. While that's not in our area, Kevin Hearn right now with 60% of the vote, 72% of the precincts reporting. Let's go ahead and move to U.S. House District 2. Now, that is Josh Burkeen. Okay, so this is the position that was left open by Mullen.
By Mullen, and I think... All right, we're going to go now to Ryan Walters, who has a commanding lead right now. The race not called in the race for state superintendent, but he is taking the stage and speaking with supporters.
Y'all remember this, Make America Great Again? That's what we're going to do right here in the state of Oklahoma. What you saw tonight, folks, is a red wave. Hey, the fake news liberal media told you that the governor and I weren't going to win tonight. Hey, folks, Oklahoma spoke loud and clear. We want Republican governance in the state of Oklahoma. I want to thank my family that's here with me, my wife, Katie, my mom and dad, my in-laws, my daughters, my two sons are all up here with us on stage because here's what we're doing. We believe that we've got to reject Joe Biden's radical agenda right here in the state of Oklahoma. And the message was sent loud and clear. In Oklahoma, we're going to do more than any other state in the country to empower parents. And folks, I can't thank Governor Kevin Stitt enough for what he has brought to the state of Oklahoma. And folks, let me say the message so it can be loud and clear, so that the radical left-wing teachers union can hear it, so that Joe Biden can hear it. Folks, Oklahoma won't go woke. Folks, what you're going to see is a commitment to ensure that every child is empowered through parent options. You're going to see a push for more transparency and accountability, and you're never again going to see a superintendent that doesn't bring transparency to you, the taxpayers. Folks, thank you so much. We will continue to make Oklahoma great.
State Superintendent-elect. Right? That's what we call him now, Ryan Walters.
It hasn't
been called yet, but he's claiming victory right there, saying Oklahoma won't go woke.
One race that has just been called by the Associated Press. We're talking about the race for governor. The Associated Press has declared Governor Kevin Stitt the winner. The incumbent, he will now serve a second term. He has won against Joy Hoffmeister right now, almost 90% of the precincts reporting there.
And The number, I guess, has gotten a little smaller. We were talking about that with Scott. I'm just kind of want to get your take on this, Scott, about straight party voting, straight party tickets. I mean, if you look at that and you just want to go boom, I mean, how much does that help Republicans in Oklahoma?
It's immeasurable. It's really, really key to the Republican takeover back in the early 2000s. I mean, when they hit that straight party voting, it's hard to get anything done down ballot. That's why things like Vicky Behenna's race tonight and some others, you're really swimming upstream against that straight party voting, although Oklahoma County is not the same place as the rest of Oklahoma. We're different in Oklahoma County.
Right. I just want to let our viewers know on the numbers. 2.3 million Oklahomans are registered to vote. Okay. 77,000 more Oklahomans registered to vote since the start of the year, which to me seems like a lot more. Here's the breakdown for you. Registered Republicans, 51%. Democrats, just under 30%, and independents, 18%. And Scott, it was said before we started getting the polling numbers in that maybe independents might make this race and might actually help out Democratic candidates Joy Hoffmeister, but it didn't seem to be the case tonight.
And not unless there had been about 15% more of them.
Sure.
And that's even though it's a large part of the growing part of our electorate, it just didn't make any difference.
Back to the polling, because I think like the straight party voting doesn't take into the polling. It's hard, it's hard to get someone on the phone and get their take on all these races.
Yeah.
Where straight party voting makes it so much easier. Right? I mean, for
super
people,
easy.
I mean, just
boom, you're out of there, right?
You've been waiting in a line. So, I don't know. I'm just looking at this from the primary race. I mean, our polling has been, I think, pretty accurate. But in the end, it's who's ever winning by a little wins by a lot.
Right. Right. It just seemed to break that way, right? When you think back to the primary with former Speaker Shannon and Mark Wayne Mullen, remember how close every pollster had that close. Okay. And then it went up 2-1. That was what happened in that.
It's like a 30-point race or something.
Yeah, it's just a really strange science, and these late breaking people, in terms of, like you said, straight party voting. See, I'll tell you how important it is. Next time I see John Echols, I'll ask him, what do we do with straight party voting? He would tackle me. Okay, it is a huge advantage for Republicans.
Sure.
And also, they don't open the primary. Republicans don't open up their primaries. Democrats like, hey, everybody come on in, right?
Right.
So there's just some advantages for Republicans in close primary and straight party voting that's baked in that I think data going forward is going to have to take into account all this somehow.
And Kevin, it's not like that he kind of sat on this lead the whole time. I don't think he was leading by 15 points last week. But in this past week, even the past weekend, boy, he got after it with ads. And there were ads everywhere. I mean, you were saying it earlier. You saw Joe Biden and Joy Hoffmeister together all the time. Look at that. I mean, if you looked at our polling from a week ago and to this, that's nuts.
That means you won Canadian County, and it looks like you won Muskogee County. So there's the top 5, right?
What does that tell you when you look at that?
That the rules came through for Kevin Stitt. The rules came through for Ryan Walters. Even though there was this narrative that the voucher issue is going to hurt them in the rural areas.
Right.
Guess what? Didn't happen, all right? Didn't come through. So the narrative, the media narrative there just did not happen. And who knows? Who knows how it all turns out? They'll be studying this for a long time, right? The political scientists. But this was not something that most data professionals saw coming.
Right.
So Governor Kevin Stitt has been reelected. The Associated Press calling that with 89% of the precincts reporting. Should also mention Lieutenant Governor. We haven't spent any time on that just because that was not expected to be a close race. But Matt Pinnell, he will also continue on. He was reelected. He will be
We're saying that Ryan Walters on the Stitt's coattails. We forget that there's a lieutenant governor running for re-election, and Matt Pinnell won easy. Yeah.
Any other races we're not paying that close attention to that you think we should be?
I think the bond issue was something that was almost nobody talked about it until the very end. All right, very important in terms of your life, your children's lives, right? And you've both hit it on the head. These are very old buildings. And even the mayor yesterday, when I was doing my stream with him, he said, people say it's not really just about academics. He said, duh, okay? He goes, you cannot learn in a building that's fallen apart. I mean, we'll get to that discussion later. But also these, we don't spend a lot of time on judges, right? And there's tons of judges the Court of Criminal Appeals. I mean, there's all these judges. It's really hard to, when you have hundreds of races, to break those down because they're nonpartisan. And so what happens? People don't seem to care as much, right?
Yeah, okay.
And there's your straight party thing. When you're talking about a judge, you can't hit a straight party deal, right?
Yeah.
So
You
when
turn
it
over
comes,
your ballot and you got to choose.
Exactly. And there was a race, when I went to vote the other day, there was one race, I'm like, I didn't vote on it, okay? I didn't vote straight party, obviously. So my point was, as I looked at it, and I didn't know and I didn't vote. Okay, well, pox on me for not understanding everything about the ballot, right? But there was 2 pages, right?
Yeah.
And lots of Court of Appeals, or rather judges and district attorneys. Those are the sorts of races we could spend more time on, I think.
And if somebody does want to know specifics on those races, if you go to news9.com, you can put in any race and you can see the latest numbers there and see who's winning there.
Yeah, these are obviously the big races of the night, big ticket races that we're watching and paying close attention to.
So red wave, we've been talking about that a lot. One that seems to have bucked that trend, it's a little different because we're talking about Oklahoma County opposed to a statewide race, and that's the Oklahoma County district attorney race. Oklahoma County has not had a district attorney in 16 years, a different one. And now we're going to have a different one, and right now with 50% of the precincts reporting, so still maintaining about just half the precincts coming in, Vicki Behenna with 57% of the votes.
Hey, Scott, the polling was right here. The polling was correct to have Vicki Behenna winning.
Yeah, well, they hit that one right on the head. And by the way, just to your point, Amanda's a few minutes ago, you know, that the Storm Jones and the Trey Savage debate that was done with them, I mean, you could learn everything you needed to know.
Right.
And I got to say this, to Savage and Storm Jones, these debates really did highlight a lot of differences between candidates that you can't see in ads, okay?
It was great to see it, to hear it directly from them, too.
It was great.
And it was the only debate. And I don't know, you know, we had been negotiating with Stitt's team and Hoffmeister's team to get a debate on the calendar.
We're going to have to leave it right there. We're just about out of time.
I was about to go for a 15-minute rant.
More in just a moment.
Get the latest newscast on your schedule with just one click. You don't have to subscribe. It's free. No time for an entire show? Pick out specific stories or weather info, and you can get more. Dig into the Weather Vault, see award-winning Oklahoma's Own originals, and much more. Free programming to help you stay safe, informed, and entertained from your locally owned news channel. Download the News 9 streaming app today. Other stations wait for the National Weather Service to issue tornado warnings, not David Payne.
If I can get the warning out there, if I'm confident that it's going to produce a tornado or it's very close, I'm confident enough that I can say, you know, this is a News 9 tornado warning, and they're going to get the earliest warning. And I know there's, you know, some TV Mets, possibly in this market and other markets around the country, that would be like, what? What is he? Really? I don't think he's supposed to be able to do that. But what I do sometimes, I put myself in their position, a family at home, sitting on the couch watching me. And if I were to hear somebody say, hey, you have 30 minutes, you know, lead time. This thing is 20, 30 minutes away from hitting you. This is going to be a News 9 tornado warning. Your phone's not going to go off. You're not going to hear it on any other station. You know, we're confident that this thing is going to really try hard to produce a tornado or at least some severe weather. And so, you know, we hope and we think that it's kept people safe, and that's what it's all about.
Washington, D.C., one of the most important cities in the world.
I'm Alex Cameron. That's why I'm excited to head up Oklahoma's only locally owned Washington, D.C. bureau, so I can report to you about the things that matter to Oklahomans.
Only on Oklahoma's Own News 9. Locally owned means the best in the sky for you.
This rainfall has just been incredible. I-40 westbound down to 1 lane.
With the fastest news helicopter and the most experienced pilot, Jim Gardner.
125 miles an hour, fighting a Depency fire. Extract these people from this car. There's 2 of them right there.
Giving you the perspective you can only get from the air.
We can track it mile by mile, 80, 90 miles an hour, and this tightened up really fast.
Bob Mills, Sky News 9, only on Oklahoma's Own News 9.
It's nice that our owners are born and raised here, and it makes a huge difference in where they want to invest. And part of our mottos, you know, is keeping Oklahomans safe. And it's pinned up in the Weather Center. I mean, it's what we do.
Times have changed. People can get their news a lot of different places, but that doesn't always mean the news is accurate.
So many people today feel like they're being cheated, right? They're only hearing one side. There's so much out there, right? and people aren't sure what to believe. And so I think that's our job. That's our job as journalists, to give people all the information.
News 9, we work really hard to make sure that we just put the facts out there, that we're reporting the story as it comes to us.
And you make the choice that you think's right for you and your family.
And the big news in the last 10 minutes, Governor Kevin Stitt has been declared the winner in the governor's race, the incumbent, so he will now serve a second term.
We have a GOP watch party that's now just turned into a GOP party, and that's what we joined here.
Years old, he is Oklahoma's 28th governor, and he will now serve a second term.
And a lot of people, a lot of polls showed Governor Kevin Stitt in trouble in this election not that long ago, and he proved everyone wrong today. Let's listen in. We do have the governor now. We have muted the music.
And my brothers, Keith, Stitt, and my little brother, Kent. Where's Kent? And then all of my children here. Natalie Stitt is getting married to Joseph, my future son-in-law. Drew. Piper, Remington, and Houston. Our daughter Kate is away right now. And to the greatest First Lady in state history, Miss Sarah Stitt. Thank you, my wonderful bride. For 24 years, the mother of our 6 children. She's been by my side the whole time. Man, a praying, godly wife is wonderful. Thank you so much, Sarah. She is bringing the science of hope across the state of Oklahoma. I cannot wait to see what she does in 4 more years. Folks, the past year, we ran on the record of limited government, lower taxes, and traditional family values. And on this campaign, we talked a lot about the Oklahoma's turnaround, from budget deficits to record surpluses. How we have invested historic, the most money ever in education in the state of Oklahoma, and to our wonderful teachers. And we've protected Oklahoma's freedoms in the most turbulent times leading during COVID. You know, you notice we led in Oklahoma, we didn't follow. And here's the deal. We don't put our Constitution in the attic in Oklahoma just because somebody in Washington, D.C. tells us to. And as a result, we now have the brightest economy in our state's history. You know, Americans from across the nation are moving to the great state of Oklahoma in record numbers. We're number 11 in the country in people moving to the great state of Oklahoma. Not per capita, but true numbers. You know what the state we're getting the most from? That's right, California. And I had to wait 18 years to vote in Oklahoma, so I'm going to make them wait 18 years to vote in Oklahoma. That's a joke if you're recording this, and I know you are. I'm just kidding. No, the Californians are saying, hey, we're moving to Oklahoma because of your pro-business, pro-freedom policies. You were shutting our churches down and our schools down. We love the freedom that you have in the great state of Oklahoma. Folks, the American dream is alive and well in the great state of Oklahoma. Oklahomans stated loud and clear today that they are proud of how far we've come. Even with upwards of $50 million in dark money, Oklahomans, they knew the truth tonight. This reminds me of Governor Nehemiah in the Bible. Have you guys read that? He set out a task to rebuild the walls. but had to lead the people through fear, disinformation, and chaos, brought on by those who wanted the people to fail. Tonight's victory is a resounding rejection of the secret, dishonest tactics in Oklahoma politics, and a rejection of every one of them that deployed them. In the end, truth won tonight. And we are going to continue to build Oklahoma with strength and vision for the next generation. Over the next 4 years, we're going to continue to build a school system for our children, one that meets their unique needs and grows their God-given talents. We're going to ensure that every child has access to a quality education, regardless of their zip code or their financial resources. This means protecting our rural schools and unlocking opportunities for families that are stuck in failing districts. We're going to continue to fund the classroom and support our wonderful teachers all across the state. And we're going to respect parents' rights and protect their say in their children's education. And in our state, we're going to focus on teaching kids and not indoctrinating them. We're going to I will always protect the taxpayer. I believe in smaller government, lower taxes. Ronald Reagan said it best when he said, government is not the solution. Most of the time, government is the problem. And right now, folks, we have the third largest savings account in the entire country. We're going to continue to reform our budget process to make it more transparent to the public, to protect and ensure fiscal solvency and responsibility. And with good government, we're going to keep cutting taxes for you, the people. We're going to start with the legislature's help and get the grocery tax cut and removed in the state of Oklahoma. Let's get government out of the way and continue to unleash our economy and make Oklahoma the #1 most business-friendly state in the entire country. Our commerce pipeline has never been bigger. 40% of our wins right now are going to rural Oklahoma. Wages are rising. Our economy is successfully diversifying. And we're going to keep this momentum going for 4 more years. All right. You know, in Oklahoma, we believe in equal opportunities, and we believe in fairness, regardless of where you live, your background, or your starting point. And we're going to make sure everyone has success to choose a bright future. Oklahoma, thank you so much. This would not be possible without all of you. And to the countless volunteers that showed up, helped us out all over the state, knocking doors, making phone calls, texting all of their friends, I can't thank you enough. And praise God that we won this thing. God bless you, and God bless the great state of Oklahoma.
Okay, you heard it right there. Governor Kevin Stitt winning re-election tonight by a wide margin.
And now we want to go over to what may be a concession speech right there. Let's listen in to Joy Hoffmeister.
And to my parents who are here as well, and my sisters, and the rest of my family, your unyielding love has sustained me through every up and down, and actually you have made me who I am. So a few moments ago, I spoke with Governor Stitt and I congratulated him on a second term. I also offered the best success for him, and of course, I am happy to do anything I can to help and support good things for Oklahoma. This campaign was about reclaiming our state for our children, for our families, and for our businesses. Tomorrow, that journey continues anew, and there is one of our newest little Hoffmeisters right there, little baby Willa. She's awake now. And we fight for her. If we've learned anything, we know that preparing our next generation takes consistent tending and focus, regardless of an election year politics. So let's keep fighting for every opportunity and resource that Oklahoma's children deserve. I'll also continue advocating for the 39 tribal nations.
Been listening to Joy Hoffmeister there, and then previously to Governor Kevin Stitt, where he has won now a second term as Oklahoma's governor. Another race that was close at first, not so much anymore, is a state superintendent race.
And that one has been mirroring the governor's race. The numbers have been as well. There's not a victor yet been declared, but Ryan Walters still with a good lead here and claiming victory earlier today. I'm not sure why this race hasn't been called yet, but just it hasn't. And you know, this was a race, according to the polls, that was within 1 percentage point last week. And so the polls were off on this one, and plain and simple. And Ryan Walters, talking about a red wave, he was right. And that's a big victory for the Secretary of Education, now going to be State Superintendent.
And you know who has insight on this? Our political analyst. We're going to be talking to him. If you want to, join us right now on one of our social media channels, news9.com. We'll be continuing the conversation in just a few minutes.
Washington, D.C., one of the most important cities in the world.
I'm Alex Cameron. That's why I'm excited to head up Oklahoma's only locally owned Washington, D.C. bureau, so I can report to you about the things that matter to Oklahomans.
Only on Oklahoma's own News 9.
Times have changed. People can get their news a lot of different places, but that doesn't always mean the news is accurate.
So many people today feel like they're being cheated, right? They're only hearing one side. There's so much out there, right? And people aren't sure what to believe. And so I think that's our job. That's our job as journalists, to give people all the information.
News 9, we work really hard to make sure that we just put the facts out there, that we're reporting the story as it comes to us.
And you make the choice that you think's right for you and your family.
Locally owned means the best in the sky for you.
This rainfall has just been incredible. I-40 westbound down to 1 lane.
With the fastest news helicopter and the most experienced pilot, Jim Gardner.
125 miles an hour, fighting a Depency fire. Extract these people from this car. There's 2 of them right there.
Giving you the perspective you can only get from the air.
We can track it mile by mile, 80, 90 miles an hour, and this tightened up really fast.
Bob Mills, Sky News 9, only on Oklahoma's own News 9.
It's nice that our owners are born and raised here, and it makes a huge difference in where they want to invest. And part of our mottos, you know, is keeping Oklahomans safe. And it's pinned up in the Weather Center. I mean, it's what we do.
Get the latest newscast on your schedule with just 1 click. You don't have to subscribe. It's free. No time for an entire show? Pick out specific stories or weather info, and you can get more. Dig into the Weather Vault, see award-winning Oklahoma's own originals, and much more. Free programming to help you stay safe, informed, and entertained from your locally owned news channel. Download the News 9 streaming app today. Other stations wait for the National Weather Service to issue tornado warnings, not David Payne.
If I can get the warning out there, if I'm confident that it's going to produce a tornado or it's very close, I'm confident enough that I can say, you know, this is a News 9 tornado warning, and they're going to get the earliest warning. And I know there's, you know, some TV Mets, possibly in this market and other markets around the country, that would be like, what? What is he? Really? I don't think he's supposed to be able to do that. But what I do sometimes, I put myself in their position, a family at home, sitting on the couch watching me, and if I were to hear somebody say, hey, you have 30 minutes, lead time, this thing is 20, 30 minutes away from hitting you, this is going to be a News 9 tornado warning. Your phone's not going to go off. You're not going to hear it on any other station. We're confident that this thing is going to really try hard to produce a tornado or at least some severe weather. And so, we hope and we think that it's kept people safe, and that's what it's all about.
Thanks so much for joining us for Oklahoma Votes and joining us throughout the evening. We just want to bring you up to speed on the very latest when it comes to elections and who's been winning. The way we left it when we were on the air is we were talking about the state superintendent race. Let's take a look at the latest numbers right there, with 93% of the precincts reporting Ryan Walters with a commanding lead with 57% of the votes.
We expect this to be called at any time, and we've been talking with Scott Mitchell about this race, also the governor's race, kind of what this means when you have a margin that wide. I don't think a lot of people predicted. I mean, the polls didn't predict it. What that means moving forward with their issues, both Walters and Stitt.
Well, they've got a monster mandate. They're certainly going to take that as a monster mandate to do things in education. And interesting thing about the governor's talked about oil and gas and the attack that he says Joe Biden has done, the Democrats have done nationally. But one of the things Governor Stitt has led on is the development of renewables. I mean, Ken Wagner, his energy secretary, started all this hydrogen work in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. So some of this futuristic fuels, along with oil and gas, I mean, that's going to be one of his calling cards in the future as he starts to look at national aspirations, and others will have national aspirations for him as well. So that's going to be one of the things he'll want to do. He's got a lot of things he'll want to go forward with. But in Oklahoma, we have a very strong legislative process, all the way back to George 9 when people were talking about how weak the institution is of the governor. So, and he also becomes a lame duck. I mean, just technically, that's exactly what it is. So
because he cannot run.
Because he cannot run again.
Again, this term limited out.
And half the town will be filing for candidacy tomorrow for 2026.
But what does that mean to me? If he's a lame duck governor, what does that mean for his issues? The thing, the grocery tax, for example. I would think that he's going to go strong on that and try to get that. But you're with the people who want they're just going to wait him out for 4 years?
No, it's just much harder to get things done because you're going to go someplace else if you're the governor that's been reelected. That doesn't mean it's a weak person. It means a weak office, and especially you don't have that. You're not running for reelection, so. Mm-hmm. Hard to raise money for one thing, right? I mean, these sorts of things happen when you win a second term. But he will have a strong mandate, and now he has a superintendent of public instruction that will work with him on his education mandate. So that's the big difference.
And they have been so close too, because Governor Stitt actually appointed Ryan Walters in his current position right now. So they're on the same page, basically.
Exactly. Almost the same vote total too when you look at the numbers.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Any idea why the Associated Press is not calling the state superintendent race when the numbers are essentially the same?
They must have exhausted themselves and called the Mullen race in 2.3 seconds.
Okay.
Okay. If you remember that? It was like, boom, it's over before we even got started.
7:05, Mark Mullen won U.S. Senate.
Maybe they went to sleep. Who knows what happened?
Okay. Yeah. No explanation there, but you're seeing the latest numbers right now. 93% of the precincts responding so far. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other big races. If we're talking about education here, Oklahoma City had a huge bond issue that they were wanting to pass. This is for Oklahoma City public schools and infrastructure there. It had to have at least 60% of the votes to be able to pass. That's what you have to have. That's the threshold for bonds. And you can see the first part of the bond, this is the bigger part right here, has gotten 65% of the votes so far.
This has looked good all night for Oklahoma City Public Schools, who has been pounding the message hard about this. This is the other point of that, the other bond. They add up to right around, what is it, $955 million, something like that. But, they had town hall meetings. They talked to, they got the mayor on board. He was a big advocate for this, going around kind of showing the discrepancies between like what Oklahoma City spends on schools and what like a Moore School District, Edmond School District, what they have been spending on schools and their bond issues that they have been successful in passing. So a very successful campaign. It looks like it's working. Why aren't we getting more numbers here for Oklahoma County?
Or Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City. The school district, I would think that we'd have almost everything in it.
I would think so too.
68% seems low.
But we know who won, who's winning this, okay? And that is, this is passed, and this sets up, You know, there's some people who put their cell phone on the line here. Mayor Holt got involved in this, and this is a vindication of Superintendent McDaniel, who, you know, he's a big, tall guy, and right now he's got his shoulders back because he won this is a big deal, and he just won tonight. So congratulations to Superintendent McDaniel.
Mick Cornett also campaigned for that bond as well. Now, you said this is pretty much a done deal, but I'm looking at least with that second part of it, or just the first part. I mean, yeah, 65%. It has to have at least 60%. You think it's good? You think it's going to pass at this point, even with 68% of the precincts reporting?
I think so, especially when we're talking about Oklahoma County.
Okay.
Right? So it's just a little bit different. Sometimes Republicans turn out against these things. In Oklahoma County, again, we're more purple than red in Oklahoma County.
But and you say that, but to get 60%, that's saying something. So congrats to them. They got it done so far. So we'll see if the numbers hold up. That's pretty good, though.
Let's take a look at the Oklahoma County District Attorney race. That was another really close one. And again, Oklahoma County, so a little bit different than the statewide picture. But Vicki Behenna still holding that lead with 55% of the votes, 71% of the precincts reporting there.
And I think the polls had this right around a 10-point race, or 10 points right. So I'm just going to say, our polls are right here.
They nailed that
This one was fine.
They nailed that one. And this one is really interesting. Okay, this is kind of bucking the trend, Vicki Behenna being a Democrat, but there's a little bit of nonpartisanship to a district attorney race.
I want to get more into that. We do have to take a real quick break, Scott, but stay with us. Back with more on this in just a minute.
Get the latest newscast on your schedule with just one click. You don't have to subscribe. It's free. No time for an entire show? Pick out specific stories or weather info, and you can get more. Dig into the Weather Vault, see award-winning Oklahoma's Own originals, and much more. Free programming to help you stay safe, informed, and entertained from your locally owned news channel. Download the News 9 streaming app today. Other stations wait for the National Weather Service to issue tornado warnings, not David Payne.
If I can get the warning out there, if I'm confident that it's going to produce a tornado or it's very close, I'm confident enough that I can say, this is a News 9 tornado warning, and they're going to get the earliest warning. And I know there's, some TV Mets, possibly in this market and other markets around the country that would be like, what? What is he? Really? I don't think he's supposed to be able to do that. But what I do sometimes, I put myself in their position, a family at home, sitting on the couch watching me. And if I were to hear somebody say, hey, you have 30 minutes, lead time. This thing is 20, 30 minutes away from hitting you. This is going to be a News 9 tornado warning. Your phone's not going to go off. You're not going to hear it on any other station. We're confident that this thing is going to really try hard to produce a tornado or at least some severe weather. And so, we hope and we think that it's kept people safe, and that's what it's all about.
Washington, D.C., one of the most important cities in the world.
I'm Alex Cameron. That's why I'm excited to head up Oklahoma's only locally owned Washington, D.C. bureau, so I can report to you about the things that matter to Oklahomans.
Only on Oklahoma's Own News 9. Locally owned means the best in the sky for you.
This rainfall has just been incredible. I-40 westbound down to one lane.
With the fastest news helicopter and the most experienced pilot, Jim Gardner.
125 miles an hour, fighting a dependency fire. Extract these people from this car. There's two of them right there.
Giving you the perspective you can only get from the air.
We can track it mile by mile, 80, 90 miles an hour, and this tightened up really fast.
Bob Mills, Sky News 9, only on Oklahoma's Own News 9.
It's nice that our owners are born and raised here, and it makes a huge difference in where they want to invest. And part of our mottos, is keeping Oklahomans safe. And it's pinned up in the Weather Center. I mean, it's what we do.
Times have changed. People can get their news a lot of different places, but that doesn't always mean the news is accurate.
So many people today feel like they're being cheated, right? They're only hearing one side. There's so much out there, right? And people aren't sure what to believe. And so I think that's our job. That's our job as journalists, to give people all the information.
News 9, we work really hard to make sure that we just put the facts out there, that we're reporting the story as it comes to us.
And you make the choice that you think's right for you and your family. All right, Oklahoma votes, and almost all the races are in. I think majority of the races that we've been watching tonight are in. We're still watching this bond vote.
Right. I was just talking to our political analyst about why the AP hasn't called the state superintendent race. Well, they have now. Let's go ahead and take a look at the latest numbers with 95% of the precincts now reporting. Ryan Walters is our state superintendent of Oklahoma. He has been the declared winner over Gina Nelson.
The polls had this thing very close, but in the end, it's a landslide for Walters. And so, are we going through races here? We're going to bring in Scott just to get his take on this.
Let's first go over a couple other races that have already been called. The Attorney General's race, that's one that has already been decided as well. Oklahoma has a new Attorney General. Okay, Gittner Drummond. He is the declared winner with 74% of the votes.
He had a tight primary, got through that, and not a Democratic opponent here. Libertarian Linda Steele is his opponent, and he wins big.
And now let's go back to the Oklahoma County District Attorney's race, because that's where we left it off with Scott. Look at the latest numbers. 71% of the precincts reporting Democrat Vicky Behenna with the lead with 55%. And we left this with Scott talking about how this is one of the very few races, it seems to be, in Oklahoma where the Democrats traditionally do better. Why is that?
Well, for a very, very long time, until early 2000s, remember, this was a Democrat state. Okay, the House and Senate were run by Democrats until 2004, I believe, and that only happened fast because of term limits. So all of the old guard that was out there at the legislature termed out, and then the Republicans rushed in and took over. Same thing with the courthouses. I mean, just traditionally was a very Democrat bastion of Democrats in the county, and that's what was happening also with your races in terms of district attorneys. And so, but there's the other aspect to it, and it's not very, people don't really look at it as very partisan. It's always been sort of a law and order sort of situation. So law and order sort of brand always trumps the party in these races. And I believe that Wes Lane was the only Republican district attorney that we've had in Oklahoma County. District Attorney Prater's a Democrat, but that's not what they wear on their sleeve, right? It's more law and order type thing.
What do you think doomed Calvi in this race? He had he got beat up in the primary. We talked about that early, and that didn't help him. But Vicky Behenna's going to win this thing pretty good. This hasn't been called, right? Has not been called.
I can double check that. I don't believe so, but no, it has not been called yet.
She's up 10, looking good, and Calvi, what doomed him here?
Two or three things. Number one, it's Oklahoma County, which is more purple, so it's not a automatic for Republicans, okay, in some areas. Number two, his primary worked, Kevin Calvi's primary worked against him the way Mark Wayne Mullins worked for him. I mean, Kevin Calvi was exposed on a number of things that were very controversial, and for the most part, women's reproductive health issues. This is another one of those races where the Supreme Court ruling really impacted the race, and it got to be about what he would do in terms of healthcare providers, women who were seeking abortions, and some of Kevin's past, the video, okay, of Kevin when he was a state legislator saying, I would set myself on fire. Mm-hmm. That came back and was used sort of out of context, but nonetheless, people see it. I mean, it's, what that old thing that Mike Deaver said one time when they were after Ronald Reagan. He said, they don't care what you're saying, they just look at the pictures, right? Yeah. And that particular performance by Kevin is something that came back to haunt him. And thirdly, I think that Vicky Behenna is somebody who's widely respected in this town, okay? She sent Timothy McVeigh to the gallows, all right? She started the Innocence Project. This is not some extremist that was sticking to other people in other races around the country. She's a high integrity individual, and just all of those things were too difficult for Commissioner Calvi.
And she campaigned on the fact that she has a lot of prosecuting experience, 25 years as a federal prosecutor as well.
Precisely. Well, the crowning achievement was the Oklahoma City bombing trial, and that never goes away. Those victories will never go away.
We're talking about the Roe decision, how it affects these races, and were you surprised that maybe that did not help Joy Hoffmeister in the race more?
Yes. I have to say, I thought that going into this, I thought we would see a much more energized women base over in this particular issue. But early voting, I mean, early on when I was looking at those early voting numbers and seeing the totals, there was no advantage for the Democrat in that, in either race, either Mrs. Hoffmeister or Mrs. Nelson, either one of those, they weren't helped by early voting. Even though the exit polls were showing Republicans were going their way, it just was, it's going to be something that's said too much, but really it was a red wave.
Scott, what's some of the takeaways that you think we should get from tonight?
Oklahoma is very Republican. It's very hard for statewide Democrats to do anything, okay? I mean, it is very hard to get that sort of, your messages out there. The Republican base and the Republican bench is very, very deep. I mean, there were some good Democrat candidates running tonight in statewide races, but the fact was people just didn't know them. And they don't have the opportunity to, they blossom all of a sudden. They don't have time for you to get used to them and learn their names. Like Gittner Drummond ran twice, okay? It's his second time that he ran as Attorney General. When you look, Matt Pinnell twice tonight. It's got to be the happiest guy in Oklahoma right now. No controversy. He's in for 4 more years. Commissioner Osborne, I mean, she's had tough primaries. She's back for 4 more years. Kim David winning tonight over at the Corporation Commission. It's just very hard for D's. And tonight, this is a shellacking.
Yeah, we saw it.
And even more so with when you're talking about like education. Okay, so Oklahoma's been red. I mean, it's been red for a while now. But you expect kind of some massive changes when it comes to Oklahoma based on, Walters winning and Stitt winning by a lot.
By a lot, and I also think you're going to see, the legislature's not changing. Charles McCall, John Eccles over in the House, they're all intact, okay? The Senate, they're intact. They may have a leadership change over there, I hear people talking about, but nonetheless, you've got people in both chambers right now that are really dedicated to school choice issues, and they're going to push forward. I would imagine we'll see another voucher bill. I mean, we'll see one in the Senate.
You better believe it. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Scott Mitchell, for being with us. We're going to take a quick break, get ready for our coverage on the air on News 9, and we'll just see you in a few minutes.
Get the latest newscast on your schedule with just one click. You don't have to subscribe. It's free. No time for an entire show? Pick out specific stories or weather info, and you can get more. Dig into the Weather Vault, see award-winning Oklahoma's Own originals, and much more. Free programming to help you stay safe, informed, and entertained from your locally owned news channel. Download the News 9 streaming app today. Other stations wait for the National Weather Service to issue tornado warnings, not David Payne.
If I can get the warning out there, if I'm confident that it's going to produce a tornado or it's very close, I'm confident enough that I can say, this is a News 9 tornado warning, and they're going to get the earliest warning. And I know there's, some TV Mets, possibly in this market and other markets around the country that would be like, what? What is he? Really? I don't think he's supposed to be able to do that. But what I do sometimes, I put myself in their position, a family at home, sitting on the couch watching me. And if I were to hear somebody say, hey, you have 30 minutes, lead time. This thing is 20, 30 minutes away from hitting you. This is going to be a News 9 tornado warning. Your phone's not going to go off. You're not going to hear it on any other station. We're confident that this thing is going to really try hard to produce a tornado or at least some severe weather. And so, we hope and we think that it's kept people safe, and that's what it's all about.
Washington, D.C., one of the most important cities in the world.
I'm Alex Cameron. That's why I'm excited to head up Oklahoma's only locally owned Washington, D.C. bureau, so I can report to you about the things that matter to Oklahomans.
Only on Oklahoma's Own News 9. Locally owned means the best in the sky for you.
This rainfall has just been incredible. I-40 westbound down to 1 lane.
With the fastest news helicopter and the most experienced pilot, Jim Gardner.
125 miles an hour, fighting a Depency fire. Extract these people from this car. There's 2 of them right there.
Giving you the perspective you can only get from the air.
We can track it mile by mile, 80, 90 miles an hour, and this tightened up really fast.
Bob Mills, Sky News 9, only on Oklahoma's Own News 9.
It's nice that our owners are born and raised here, and it makes a huge difference in where they want to invest. And part of our mottos, is keeping Oklahomans safe. And it's pinned up in the Weather Center. I mean, it's what we do.
Times have changed. People can get their news a lot of different places, but that doesn't always mean the news is accurate.
So many people today feel like they're being cheated, right? They're only hearing one side. There's so much out there, right? And people aren't sure what to believe. And so I think that's our job. That's our job as journalists, to give people all the information.
News 9, we work really hard to make sure that we just put the facts out there, that we're reporting the story as it comes to us.
And you make the choice that you think's right for you and your family.
Oklahoma's own News 9 starts now with Campaign 2022, Oklahoma Votes.
And every vote counts, every vote matters.
It's putting America first. That means putting America energy first.
Experience matters in this race.
Oklahoma still belongs to you.
We never wanted to do something by just occupying a seat. We want to fight for this country.
The American dream is alive and well in the great state of Oklahoma.
Job interview is over, but the job is just beginning, and it's time to get to work.
A contentious political season leads to easy wins for Republicans in Oklahoma tonight.
Thanks so much for joining us here at 10 o'clock. We now have a pretty clear picture of who will lead Oklahoma through the next few years. These races will determine Oklahoma's fate. We're talking about in education and criminal justice and representation at our nation's capital as well.
Our crews have been at watch parties across the state, and they were there live to see reactions from both parties, all parties involved.
We start tonight with almost all precincts reporting. Right now, 95% of the precincts reporting, and Governor Kevin Stitt has won his re-election.
This was projected to be one of the tightest contests across the state, with Governor Stitt racing to keep his seat against former State Superintendent Joy Hoffmeister. Wasn't close in the end, though. Stitt a big winner. We begin our live team coverage with both Barry Mangold and Brittany Toulis. They are covering Governor Stitt and Hoffmeister watch parties. And Barry, we start with you on the GOP side. How's the energy there now?
Well, Amanda Carl, the energy is still high after a just round of winning and celebration here at the Republican State GOP Watch Party. We know that other prominent Republicans in the state politics thought this was going to be a close race as well. Our polling showed it, but Governor Kevin Stitt pulled off a large, significant win tonight, and he celebrated in his speech, matching the energy of the room with very enthusiastic fans, and he had a lot to say during his speech. Here's a snippet.
Oklahomans stated loud and clear today that they are proud of how far we've come. Even with upwards of $50 million in dark money, Oklahomans, they knew the truth tonight.
And one thing that Governor Stitt did not mention in his victory speech was anything about his opponent, Joy Hoffmeister, but we do know that Hoffmeister took the stage at her watch party in the last 30 minutes or so. We're going to go now to our own Brittany Toulis, who's there. Brittany?
Yeah, thanks, Barry. And as you all can see right behind me, the party cleared out almost as soon as Joy Hoffmeister left that stage after her concession speech. Now, she's still over there in the corner just thanking and shaking people's hands for coming out and supporting her. But she also, as you said, Barry, Governor Stitt didn't mention her, but Joy Hoffmeister did mention Governor Stitt, saying she gave him a call congratulating him on his re-election tonight. And during her concession speech, she also quoted Will Rogers, and if that name sounds familiar, that's who the airport's named after, thanking all of the Republican lawmakers who reached across the aisle to support her campaign. Here's what she had to say about that.
Tonight, I say, let's stay out on that limb together. Let's see what fruit can be harvested by having hard conversations, by staying in fellowship with each other, even when we disagree, and by finding a new way to talk with each other, devoid of some of these same old party lines.
And the first part of that quote actually got cut off, and it talks about going out on that limb. That's where the fruit is, and that's the support she was talking about with those GOP members. And Hoffmeister also made sure to thank everyone who had a hand in her campaign, both helping her get across the state and the people who cast a ballot in her favor. And for now, live at the History Center, Brittany Toulis, Oklahoma's own News 9.
Brittany and Barry, thank you very much. Another hotly contested race, Gina Nelson and Ryan Walters vying for Hoffmeister's seat as state superintendent. And
this one kind of mirrored the governor's race. If you take a look at these numbers, with 95% of the precincts reporting Ryan Walters the winner with 57% of the votes as of right now. Let's check in with our teams out at the watch parties, Chris Yu and Haley Wager. And Haley, let's start with you at Ryan Walters' party. Go ahead and tell us how it's going there.
That's right, Amanda. Ryan Walters is already celebrating his victory tonight. He's been confident all day long. Nothing but confidence and energy coming from the Republican candidates here today. They've been talking about this red wave, the Republican sweep, all day long. Walters gave his celebration speech about 30 minutes ago. Here's what he says is his goal as the next state superintendent.
The message was sent loud and clear. In Oklahoma, we're going to do more than any other state in the country to empower parents.
Walters also says he's going to get back to the basics of education and empower parents in Oklahoma. Let's head over to our Chris Yu, who's been following Walters' opponent, Gina Nelson. Chris?
Gina Nelson wrapped up her concession speech about 20 minutes ago, and while she said she did not get the results she was hoping for, she was very grateful that they came.
Chris, go ahead if you can hear us. There may be a delay there.
Yeah, taking that stage just a short time ago, Gina Nelson thanked her supporters by reiterating that education saves lives. Now, she left that stage with a message of unity.
Don't let the lack of wind tonight extinguish your spark. Our kids are worth fighting for, and the next 4 years are going to require us all to come together. I've said it over and over again. It is time to put the divisiveness that all of us are seeing across our state aside, to work together, to build communities, to build our state. And we don't do that by teams Democrat or team Republican. We do that by becoming Team Oklahoma. And it's time.
This is Nelson's first time running for office. The veteran educator and former teacher of the year told supporters that they surprised a lot of people by making it this far. For Haley Wager, I'm Chris Yu, Oklahoma's own News 9.
Haley and Chris, thank you. Oklahoma City Public School residents voting on a nearly $1 billion bond proposal.
This one's still up in the air. It's a big-time vote for Oklahoma City Public Schools. The proposal would fund new schools, district-wide upgrades, and more funding toward transportation. Right now, things are looking good, so you need 60% plus one with this bond issue. And so these are the two parts here. That's the second part, the $19 million going to transportation issues. But the big part, 1 and 2, is a two-part bond. Things looking good. Again, 60% plus one. Here's District Superintendent Dr. Sean McDaniel on the results.
We know that at the end of this bond authorization, opportunities for kids exist. And so we're excited. We're really excited about it. Can't wait to get to the end, but we're going to stay excited for right now.
Average age of the school building, 70 years old, so they're going to get some repairs, it looks like.
Yeah, and as current Oklahoma County District Attorney David Prater leaves office, the race to replace him got heated.
It's been about 16 years since someone new's been in that spot. Right now, here's a look at 71% of the precincts reporting Vicki Behenna right now with the lead, with 55% of the votes. Our Colby Thielen and Angelicia Bruton are covering their watch parties. Let's start with Angelicia Bruton for an update.
Supporters are still here at the Behenna watch party. Some tell me they're not going to leave until they see her and they see her win. Every time we show that full screen of the district attorney race, the crowd goes crazy. Behenna tells me she's confident her experience will be the reason she wins. If elected, one thing she tells me she wants to do is make changes to how things operate in the district attorney's office.
Was an issue of lack of communication between the DA's office and law enforcement. That's of concern to me because being a prosecutor, I understand it's kind of hard to put a case together when you're not communicating with law enforcement that's working with you on that.
Behenna's team tells me that she'll be out any minute now. Colby Thielen is covering the Republican candidate for the Oklahoma County District Attorney's race. He joins us now from his watch party. Colby?
Hey, Angelicia. Yeah, so far tonight, we actually haven't seen Kevin Calvi. We were told initially by his campaign that he would be out here a little bit later tonight. So far, we haven't seen him. That lead that you talked about has been pretty consistent so far throughout the evening, about 18,000 votes separating the two. Again, not completely closed, about 88% of the precincts at this point now reporting in Oklahoma County, but still at 18,000 point spread right now at this point. We have not seen Mr. Calvi. If we do at some point then, of course, we'll be sure to talk with him, see how he's feeling throughout the evening and post that on all of our apps and at news9.com. For now, reporting at the Oklahoma GOP Watch Party, Colby Thielen, Oklahoma Zone, News 9.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. You know, a lot of people have been watching Oklahoma to see who will replace longtime Senator Jim Inhofe in our nation's capital.
And the race was called almost immediately, like 7:05, the AP calling the race for Congressman Mark Wayne Mullen. He will be Oklahoma's next United States Senator. Look at the results right there. That is a big-time victory over Democrat Kendra Horn. Let's send it out to our teams in the field. Sylvia Corkles with the Horn Watch Party. But first, we have Felice Romero, who is in Tulsa with Mullen's team. Felice.
Carl, Amanda, tonight's race was very similar to the primary election a couple months ago. The AP calling this race early on and Mark Wayne Mullen declaring victory an hour after the polls closed. The U.S. Senator-elect first thanking his family for their support, then turning towards his audience and thanking them for voting for him, saying, "We came here to win it, and we did." The big theme around his speech was an America First agenda. Take a look.
Well, the red wave just started.
Now, News 9's Sylvia Corkill has been following his opponent Kendra Horn all night and joins us live in Oklahoma City with the latest. Sylvia?
Unlike 2018, U.S. Senate hopeful Kendra Horn was not able to flip that seat vacated by Jim Inhofe. Just a few minutes ago, she took center stage to thank everyone here, saying tonight is not the outcome that we wanted. Now, earlier in the night, we spoke with her camp and supporters who were left confused but remained hopeful after the AP early on declared opponent Mark Wayne Mullen the winner. We did speak to one of her supporters who said that she believes in Kendra as she continues to do right by the state. She said she loves it. It's her home, and I have every confidence in her to succeed and to do great things. Now, Horn went on to thank her supporters and said while she did not win tonight, she did say she has no plans on giving up and shouted, "This is not over." Live in Oklahoma City, Sylvia Corkill, Oklahoma Zone, News 9.
All right, thank you. Also, just to note, Senator Lankford has been reelected to U.S. Senate. And looky there, we are sitting down with our political analyst, Scott Mitchell. You're going to hear his thoughts on tonight's races after the break.
People can get their news a lot of different places, but that doesn't always mean the news is accurate.
So many people today feel like they're being cheated, right? They're only hearing one side. There's so much out there, right? And people aren't sure what to believe. And so I think that's our job. That's our job as journalists, to give people all the information.
News 9, we work really hard to make sure that we just put the facts out there, that we're reporting the story as it comes to us.
And you make the choice that you think's right for you and your family.
At Mr. Sparky,